and then I'll check my my sound and everything. I'll be hearing an echo soon. We are living it, ladies and gentlemen. If there are any ladies or gentlemen are here. Again, as I always say, I've been starting out here on the new YouTube channel. It's very odd for me because on the old BTR, started out with music, and then my opening music allowed me to wait a second and get started. So it's very awkward getting started with intros, and it messes me up. Everyone out there, so I'm all over the damn place. But I'm gonna try to pretend to be professional today, at least, since I'm not winging it like I often do, and since Flash is not here, I used to have him to blame it on. But well, here we are. Clobberin time issue number. Yes, I say issue because we're comic book geeks around here at heart. Number 7. I wanted it to be number 7. There's a big coincidence coming, folks. Just wait. Actually, number 707, though. As you all know, we did 11 years on Blog Talk Radio, Clobberin Time. I had to name the channel Clobberin Times for a dumb reason, for a YouTube reason. So we're Clobberin Times, number 7, but we're Clobberin Time, number 707. 11 years, 700 episodes, and no one stopped me yet. Although in my first couple of episodes back in 2009, I still believe Paramount had one of my shows taken off. And it was because Jar Jar Abrams. I mean it. Yeah. Oh, Mark C., my old friend. Thank you for being there. Social distance warrior. Great seeing you there. Eastlyn Burkholder had to run out for a while, but that's okay. Any other friends who love Blake 7, or if you just want to hear about Blake 7, we're about to do that. And I want to just say, here we are. Did I do all my introing right? I'm gonna have to come up with a new way of introing. I'll just say first that Saturday night I will be on again, and I'm going to have my great friend Carlos all the way from Mexico. Isn't it amazing? I'm talking to people all over the world. And we are going to be, just as we do with our Saturday night theme, as always, comic books. Last week, my great buddy Mark C. here joined me for our talk of The Coming of Galactus, the brilliant Jack Kirby, Stan Lee classic from 1966, Fantastic Four. And we had a great time speaking of that wonderful Fantastic Four saga. The week before that, of course, Mark and I did Justice by Jim Kruger and Alex Ross. And I just, why are you doing this to me? Don't beat me when I'm doing this. Oh, sorry. Well, at least she's hot. Oh God. We're oh yeah. And this Saturday, I would like to announce, like anyone's going to care, but I'm going to do it anyway. But I'm going to go through the motions here. One of the all-time greatest comic books ever created, superheroes, genre comics ever. It kind of goes largely unnoticed by some, but it's still one of the most brilliant. And it is in its 25th anniversary, Astro City. Kurt Busiek's Astro City is one of the greatest ever, and I'm going to talk all things Astro City with my great friend Carlos from way back there, and he will. And my good buddy Mark. Oh, you're reading the 12. Good. Let me know what you think. If you like it or not, we will do the 12. We will break that down. J. Michael Straczynski's, in my opinion, excellent. Maxi series there. Thank you. But today I am joined by a distinguished gentleman who I've enjoyed hearing him on the TARDIS Zone. And you've probably been on some other ones too that I've heard, I think, maybe. The TARDIS Zone, which, of course, our new friend Noel, he's a new friend of mine. He's an old friend of yours, I guess. He has been nice enough to have me on once and for a few minutes, and it was really wonderful of him. And I love his channel. If you're a Doctor Who fan, please go out there and find the TARDIS Zone on YouTube. I do believe that's how you would find it if you found it in a search, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, he's a great chap. I really like him. He's really cool, and I'm a big Boldstreck fan as well. So
Boldstreck is a regular guest on there as well. Yeah.
Also, yes. Seek out, if you're a Doctor Who fan, seek out Boldstreck's channel as well. He's fantastic. And
Rabbi from Another Planet, Svi Lebetkin. He also guests on the TARDIS Zone, and I also guest on his Video Vault reviews of films that most people either don't know on the radar or classics that we just simply have to talk about before they're deleted.
Excellent. Well, anyone else, by the way, because you know a lot of these people more than I do, if you can plug people, I'm not that, again, like I said, I don't have an audience yet, really, but plug it anyway, because this is going to be downloaded, and anyone who might run across it and want to hear some Blake 7 talk, which we're about to get into, might, if you got anybody else to recommend, please do.
Well, Rabbi and I do sort of monthly, or at least bi-monthly, when we get round to it, sort of stream on the sort of reviews of the Big Finish audios of Blake 7.
Oh, great.
So,
wow.
yeah, we do that. We've done one already, so hopefully we'll do one probably next week, if not the week after.
Oh man, please help me remember to find that, because I would like to hear. I have a few of those of the Big Finish ones, and I would love to hear that. That would be fair. I love the ones I have, of course, are great. I plan to get them all eventually. But,
well, yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough that my love for Blake 7 has re-blossomed very recently. It's something I grew up with when I was very small. And it's something that sort of remained in the sort of subconscious there for all these years, and then obviously with the advent of YouTube, it's all there. It's all there.
yes, it is.
I would obviously advise people to go and purchase the DVDs because whilst they're there, I mean, there's no Blu-rays as far as I'm aware of yet, unfortunately, and I don't know if there are any plans to do any releases in Blu-ray, but I think they should. Especially as it's such a classic. I mean, it's so well loved. I mean, it's not so much in the public consciousness now, but it really should be. So many series, from Firefly to
Babylon 5,
Babylon 5,
Farscape,
yeah, even Deep Space Nine is meant to have been sort of based on the idea of Blake 7. So I mean, it's funny because obviously originally Blake 7 was the British answer to Star Trek. So it's life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art.
Well, I am of course derelict in my duty because I did not announce you or introduce you first. Again, I'm all over the place, man. I'm sorry about that, but this is of course
worries.
I should introduce you as my new friend. Say Problem Being, right? That is your moniker.
That's an old band name.
I like
so
that
one. Just stuck. It's got like 3 different meanings. I quite like literary.
Yes, stuff. It just means you're problematic.
Yes.
No, we love that
cancelled.
one. Yeah. You must, yes.
Cancel me.
Remember that one. Cancel Problem Being, everyone. Cancel.
Hashtag cancel Problem Being.
We're going to do a show called Cancel. I might just make a new YouTube channel called The Cancelers.
I think you might be into something.
Yeah, let's do that. Huh? Blake 7, I'll give you my sick origin, because and then I will firmly expect you to want to have me assassinated and murdered for this. I will deserve it once I make my big Blake 7 confession to you. Because as you were telling me, and of course, obviously, since it aired, you saw it as a child when it first aired and everything. I first read about it in because I guess I'm old, man. I first read about it in Starlog magazine, which is how I first read about Doctor Who, of course. And let's see, Starlog magazine, and Starlog put out this book. I don't know if you're familiar with Starlog, but that was pretty much how you got your science fiction news back then.
Yes, I still have somewhere an edition
nice.
From years ago. I can't even remember. It's from the 80s. Yeah.
Well, you guys had Starburst, which was basically Starlog for the UK as well. So Starburst was its sister mag or whatever. But so yeah, Starlog, which I love, still have all my old ones. They put out these guidebooks, and one of them was an episode guidebook, and it had the episode guide to Blake 7. What is this thing? What is this thing you call Blake 7? I'd loved Doctor Who already. And I started reading some of the descriptions, and for a while, I just knew it by its descriptions in there. And when it first aired, it came over here in one of our PBS affiliates, and where I'm from in the lowly crotch of the nation here, as I call it, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We got it on one of our stations. After Doctor Who's popularity had already been assured, and we were huge Hugh fans. I was running a comic shop at the time, and I've done that a lot, unfortunately. But I watched the first one, The Way Back, and I have to admit to you, I didn't. After that, it didn't catch me. I really didn't like it. Again, a young, impetuous fool. I didn't give it any other chance after that. Yes, I do want to go back in time and kick my own ass and destroy myself for it. And here's why.
It's the slow burn, Blake 7. It's the slow burn. Yeah.
Well, that's probably happened to a lot of people in a lot of things. But when you hear what happened to me, you are going to understand why I would like to jump off of the top of the Liberator and just. So a couple of friends of mine kept watching, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, I just should get into it, whatever." Like, oh, I want to kill myself even thinking about it. So in New Orleans, Louisiana, not too long after the series had run its course here, somewhere around a ballpark, circa 1986, 7, somewhere up in there. A couple of friends of mine went to a small con down in New Orleans at a hotel, and there was maybe 30 or 40 people showed up. Guess who the two guests were? You will. Oh my God! I want to kill me thinking about it. Mr. Paul Darrow and Mr. Michael Keating.
Oh.
Con. Now, my two friends. I mean, I can't believe I'm admitting this on the air. I'm so embarrassed by it. I want to shoot myself. So, my two friends who were a fan and I was not a fan, and they kept saying, "You got to go to this con." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not at like 7. Is there any Doctor Who people?" Nah. And I went to work. I had to work. So, nah, it wasn't a big deal. Well, they came back, ranting and raving how what a great time. They said there was only like 30 or 40 people there. They said Paul Darrow and Michael Keating were running around, hanging out with people, telling people, hey, they were walking out to go to lunch one day, and they stopped them. Both of them said, "You guys aren't leaving the con, are you?" They played Trivial Pursuit with the fans. They hung out with the fans. My friends got pictures with them. I'm like, I hate your guts. I hate you both. So a friend of mine, after we recorded all 52 episodes, gave me the big old pile of lovely VHS tapes and said, "You need to watch this." All right. Yeah, all right. Because I'm sick of hearing you a-holes talk about it. Well, I wish I'd have hated it. I wish I'd have watched it go, look, I know it's garbage. It sucks. Screw you. Well, sometimes you pay more attention, and when you get into second episode, third episode, because I've had people tell me they didn't really get into it at first.
That's right.
Needless to say,
that's a very common thing.
Yeah, with a lot of shows, but this one for sure. And needless to say, I fell in love. And the more I fell in love with the show, the more I wanted to jump. Every time I think about it, this is friggin' 40 years later almost. I want to kill myself.
Yeah.
Jobber.
No, Jobber. I feel pretty much in a similar vein, because so many years passed, and obviously my love of Doctor Who was my sort of primary go-to. Even in the wilderness years, it was still so important to me. Like, I kept buying the magazine, and I kept being in love with the show. And sort of Blake Seven sort of fell to the wayside, because it's something I watched when I was very small. Like 5, 6. And it's only through the advent of YouTube and the wonders of people allowing it to be posted in its entirety without having had it taken down is a wonderful thing for me. And it reignited my passion for it all very recently. It's something I guess you wouldn't watch unless you were familiar with it in some way, or recommended it highly. But it was something that stuck with me. And as I was saying to you before we went on broadcast, in the school playground, we were running around and pretending we're in the Liberator, and I was Avon, because I'd want to be the curly hair guy, because being curly haired was like anathema back then when you were at that age.
Avon rules.
Yeah, and Avon was always the cool one. He was the one dressed in black as well. So yeah, I mean, I because of my sort of belated reblossoming, if you like, of my love for Blake Seven came so late. Obviously, it was very recently, so it was kind of like Paul Darrow had just passed away.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a slew of great Blake Seven actors who've passed away one after the other, sort of very sequentially. Yeah. It's tragic. And then I've been watching so many sort of Alpha Sigma conventions and things that I could have gone to, and I'm like, I've missed out on all of this, and I'll never get the chance to have met the wonderful Paul Darrow. And it's so disheartening, because you just think, gosh, what a character. I mean, in real life, he comes across so charismatic, and I guess by today's standards, rather problematic. I remember there was one video of him in a convention that I saw on YouTube, and they're doing a raffle. I think it's an American one, and it's a raffle where they have to bid. I think there was a bid, a kiss-a-thon thing. Kiss Paul Darrow, the highest bidder. So you got these women bidding to kiss Waldero, and he's rather enjoying it. But I'd have to say it was very consensual. Very, very consensual. Oh my God.
He's such a great guy.
Oh, he's larger than life. Yeah. I like to say it is because, you know,
yes, he is.
I
He's
think
still
people. Yeah. I don't think people like to be talked about in the past.
No, that's true. That's true.
Past
he lives for me.
Yeah, Avon lives. That's what I always say when I talk about Blake. Avon lives.
Avon lives. Yes, in more ways than one, which we'll touch on later.
Yes, absolutely.
My friend Jobber, good to see you there, brother. He's from way back. Jobber's from the old days, man. Just Joe 47. And well, Mike had the same feelings about Farscape. Mike didn't hate it, but he sort of gave up on it after season 1. Now, are you referring to me, or you're saying that you did that, Jobber? I can't remember now, but I did recently, after not giving Farscape a chance, much like Gary said. He said, Muppets, I'm not watching that. Then he watched it and loved it. 20 years later, I just did that a couple of months ago, and I really enjoyed Farscape quite a bit. Again.
Well, Farscape again is another example of a successful and wonderful show that was not based on Blake 7, but heavily influenced by Blake 7.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think you could say the same for shows like Lex as well. That's another one. You know, much more surrealist bent, but you know, it's another fun show.
A lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it, man. Again, really good stuff. But on the thing with like you just talked about missing the actors. I mean, after I went back and fell in love with it, I was so mad at myself, and I always will be. The only actor I've ever got to meet from Blake 7 was the wonderful David Jackson at a con, and he was really cool. And I met a lot of Doctor Who actors, but he's the only he's the only Blake actor I ever got to meet. And man, I just would love to have met them all. They came over here a lot in the 80s, I believe. Yeah. But not so much now, you know. So, Eastlyn, look, Farscape. I was one of those bigots who said, Muppets? I ain't want no damn Muppets. What y'all talking about? Y'all, what y'all, bunch of children? I could go watch the Muppet Show before watching that. Like a jackass.
Well, you could argue Star Wars was a Muppet show.
Especially Return of the Jedi and stupid Jabba's Palace, and the idiot special edition. Don't get me started on that crap. Avon lives.
Well, thankfully, there's the despecialized versions which you can access.
Yeah, love them. Oh yeah, great stuff.
And we've got Kip Ellis there saying, "Evening, folks. I've got 6 episodes left to watch. The mighty problem being," that's me. I don't know about mighty pain in the ass, maybe. He got me into watching it a few weeks ago. Yes, I did, and I managed to convert Gary from Nerdrotic.
Yes, we love Gary here. By the way, love Nerdrotic.
Persistently targeting him with super chats, telling him to watch it. So I knew that another great Fandom Menace member of the what's his name, Talons Wayne Chiang. He sent Gary the DVD, and the DVD just sat there for like a year, and for that whole year I just kept pounding away to go, you must watch Blake 7, you must watch. And then Doomcock piped in and said, you know, that he'd seen it and he loved it. So I guess with a little bit of prompting, we got there.
You did it. You did it.
We did it.
Another show that I love, The Prisoner. Doomcock and I are supposed to talk about that and do a show eventually talking about The Prisoner, which I love and I'm a big fanatic of.
I grew up watching that as well. You know, I grew up. I mean, on British TV, we obviously had a lot of American imports. So we had a lot of the original Star Trek, original series Star Trek that used to come on. I can't remember if it was weekly, if it was like daily. It was a lot, and it was so popular.
Nice.
And Prisoner as well, even though that's one of ours.
Love it.
That was on a lot, and I used to watch that. I couldn't understand what the hell was going on as a kid, but I was sort of drawn into its mystery and its oddity, and it was so evocative with that opening scene, you know, the opening theme tune. And it sets up everything. So you can literally tune into absolutely any episode of The Prisoner and just watch any episode. And you know kind of what's supposed to be going on because it's all there in the opening title. So you're just like, God,
except for Living in Harmony. Except for Living in Harmony.
Yes.
Other than that one. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. hopefully Doomcock and I so we're going to get together and talk some prisoner one of these days.
Yeah. Well, Gary from not Gary. As from Hill versus Babyface has been talking about Prisoner. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to. In fact, I mentioned I was in one of those discords with Doomcock. Someone mentioned that he was going to start doing that about a week or two ago. And I said, "Well, like you said, I should be the one doing that." And I jokingly said, "Doomcock, only you could say that around me because it should just be me and you." And kidding, I love Az, and I love R&B. So, and
I've set up a religion on Twitter.
As
the Temple of the Golden Asda.
Yes, I've joined it. I love it.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I mean, it's I've just canonized my first saint, Sir Talks a Lot, who's I've decided to canonize because he's been so devout.
Nice.
So we're gonna start working on some commandments and other texts. I think that's the next stage, but it's just a bit of fun.
I love it. Well, I'm proud to be a member of that religion.
That's the haha, brother. That's the haha.
Oh yeah, I love Az. He's fantastic. Oh yes, man, Ollie from Latino Slant. Anyone go to Latino Slant's page and join his very new YouTube channel. My good new friend. You know what, man? I tell you what, I have made. And Paulie's a good buddy of mine. I've made some great friends. You say what you want about the internet, and we all bitch about it in different ways. I made some great friends online. All the greatest friends I've ever made in my life, problem being, have been in a geek venue of some sort. When I ran a comic shop at a very early age, or when I owned a comic shop later, Doctor Who meetings, Star Trek fan clubs, you name it. And later, of course, as you know, now most of the fandom is, online and pretty open and out there. And over the past, I don't know, decade or two or whatever, I've made some great friends, even online. And some great ones that I end up, being, friendly with and meeting in some cases, but even not. Some friends I've known, I feel like they're my very close friend, and we correspond, and we've never actually met in person. So I've met some wonderful people. And just when I started this new channel with very few subscribers, moving over from my old venue, and of course, some fellow fandom menacers, just making some wonderful new friends because we're of like minds. Not that we agree on everything, but we're of like minds in terms of what we want out of our entertainment and our fandoms and things like that. And just now, I'm only on episode 8 here. And I met a couple of people who are also either doing their channel or just starting out or just hanging out that have run into me here. And one of them, a new one, is Paulie, my good friend there. He's a really cool dude. And good to see you there, my friend. Thanks for popping in there. I don't know if you're a Blake 7 fan or not, but if not, maybe you will be one day after we get through with you.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
You will be like us.
And there are some people who don't get into the older stuff that much, if you will.
Yeah, I tried to get Mecha Random 42 to talk about Blake 7. She just was not having it. She was just like into all that old stuff. I'm like, well, you watch old Doctor Who, don't you? It's the same vein. Terry Nation, for heaven's sake.
But she loves old Star Trek and Batman.
I know. I tried. She brushed it off. I was like, okay.
Oh well, it's not everyone's bag, as we know, I guess.
Well, you don't know until you watch it.
There's the thing.
No, nothing against her at all. Personally, I
love her. She's great.
Great. But I was a little disheartened.
Of course, you should just give something a shot. That's for sure. Again, like I said, Farscape, and again. Okay, it's desperate. It's not like some big open-mindedness on my part. I'm desperate. There's nothing to watch, and I've been watching. Good God, I would like to have something. Even though I love watching my reruns, I was watching a lot of Trek reruns and stuff. Real Trek, not bad reboot filth, of course.
Yeah.
And which I hate, not the abominable drivel, but and I thought, you know what? I've never watched Farscape. And I've had many, and I've nothing against it. I've had many friends talk very well of it. Let me give it a shot. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I used to see it, the ads ad infinitum when it was on the Sci-Fi Channel here. So let me give it a shot. And again, hey, it was fun to have something interesting to look forward to come home after a day's work and watch a couple eps. So
yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, it's. I will admit, it's good, but it's not something I've actually taken that amount of time to actually get into. I think mainly because I have this real thing about westerns, even though it's in space. It kind of, I don't know.
Not your bag.
I was forced to sit through so many westerns as a kid with my
I
grandfather, and it did my absolute head in. It's just not my thing. I'm sorry, America. Don't hate me.
Look, I hate you.
I love Blazing Saddles, and that was a review of the Rabbi. So
yeah, well, it's not everyone's bag. I mean, I'm a big
Blake 7 is a western in space, I guess, but it's very British.
Oh yeah, like I said, I would not put Farscape in my top 10 or 20 or anything like that, or even. But as sci-fi show goes, and definitely I did enjoy it a good bit.
Is it true they kill everyone off like they did? Is it true that they killed a load of the main cast off in Firefly?
Is it what now on Firefly?
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't watched that?
No, I haven't.
I'm a big Firefly fanatic, but that movie will break your heart when they, the Serenity. So yeah, the movie is a heartbreaking. I mean, I want to don't get me started on that Joss Whedon ass. So yeah, it did, and I loved Firefly, and that movie broke my heart. I was part of the big campaign to get that movie made, and then the asshole slaughters two beloved characters. Look, killing characters is one thing, but when he did it on Buffy, he had a series to keep going. It's not like but when you're only a few episodes in one movie, and that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, and I loved Buffy. I thought it was a great show, but that was a little bit different.
I never got into Buffy at all because it just reminded me of like 90210 with vampires, and I couldn't get into any of that. Yeah. It was unrelatable to me. I mean, I know there are a lot of British Buffy fans, obviously, sure. But for me, it was right at the time of the early 90s where it was just kind of like we had 90210 and all of these things, and we had like Charmed or whatever, and all these. I don't know if they came later or whatever, but I remember sort of a ball of American style shows with these sort of magic things going on, and for me, it was just like, I think I was just missing Doctor Who. Yeah. And it was just like, why can't we have stuff like, this, but, with Doctor Who, it's just, I just felt like, sorry, I wasn't a Buffy fan at all. I tried to watch, I did watch some of it. I watched, I liked some of the Angel stuff. I thought that was okay. But it was a bit ball in the bag for me, I'm afraid.
I got you. No, I understand. I mean, look, I'm never one of those that has a problem with people not liking something I like, because there's so many things I don't like that people go, "Oh, were you crazy? You don't like that?" So what do you do?
I'm usually the same, unless it's with Tom Baker's Doctor and
Blake like that.
Then I get militant.
Be executed and had their heads chopped off if they don't like that. We gotta have some standards. Eastlyn, our good friend Burkholder, says, he basically said something about we have to talk about how Blake, the noble leader, and yet one. Well, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Well, we are going to touch on a lot of that stuff. And there's one of the things about Blake 7, as I mentioned, as kind of touched on earlier before we started streaming. Blake 7, you actually mentioned as well, it's very Shakespearean.
I describe it as Shakespeare in space.
It is.
It's so incredibly Shakespeare. I mean, even the acting performances. They're all sort of Shakespearean actors anyway. So
this is one of
the writing. The writing is the situation, the drama, the anti-hero thing. Which I think is the first time it was ever really done on TV, or. Yes, I think on TV specifically. I mean, Avon's character, I don't think it was anything quite like that.
Nothing
before.
ever. Not like that. Well, yeah, and then there's the thing, the writing on this show is so brilliant. The characters.
It's sharp.
If you want to bash the plastic sets and then the shaky sets and the weird hairdos, I love it. I love the flight deck. I love the Liberator and the flight deck. But if you want to knock some of the locations, like the countless quarries, the nuclear plants that pass as alien worlds, the hairdo,
They're actually filming an episode of Blake 7 in a quarry. There's all these explosions going. Crap, what's going on? and then they would sort of scrabble over the hill, and they'll be filming an episode of Doctor Who just on the other side of the quarry at the same time. So that was amusing. That amused me. I mean, so many Welsh quarries and
oh yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Love all that.
Well,
well,
you know
you
what?
make do.
Well, you know what though? But I don't mind if people just make fun of that, but still realize how good the show is. Fine. The people who do the stunt, I'll tell you this: a few years back, we don't. By the way, there's no U.S. DVD release yet. I had a friend of mine make copies. Yeah, and I had to buy like Region 2 copies and things at some points. And I've had they did do VHSs. I did have all of those, but I saw a review of one of the sets many years ago when it first was, I guess, re-released on DVD or what have you. And one of this reviewer, I want to, I'm not really violent, folks. It's a joke, but I wanted to strangle the son of a bitch because his review was pretty much this. Excuse me, just pretty much down to this. It was, well, this show really is brilliantly written and acted. But all those sets and all those special effects and all that low budget is just makes it. I can't really. I'm really having trouble recommending it. I can't really, in good. I mean, I just can't think it's. I can't praise it as a good show.
Does this person ever go to the theater? I mean,
oh my God, no.
If you go to see a play in a theater, you know you're aware it's on the stage. You're aware the set's fake. You're aware the costumes are fake. You're aware. So much of it is so removed from reality, but you can still watch it because you're engaged with the actors, you're engaged with the characters, you're engaged with the story. It's a very superficial way of looking at it. Plus, you're looking at it through a modern lens. You can't look at it in that aspect. I guess for me, and maybe someone who's older, such as yourself, who I don't know exactly. I mean, you said you were running a comic shop when you first watched it, but you watch it through the prism of the time that you remember it from. So if you were watching it from the time that it came out, you can forgive it all that. If you're introducing it to someone in a modern era, in the modern context, as someone who's younger, but perhaps unless they really love the sort of the camp and the sort of the cheap budget stuff, you know, from Doctor Who and things like that. If people are kind of used to seeing that or like old stuff, you know, some people do. They can see through all that and accept it for what it is. Those are smart people we talk to, we engage with. Not these. I don't know how to describe them. What's the word? Oh, gosh, brain fart. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, so like people who look at the superficial. Let's face it.
That's pretty much it.
Sway to the superficial.
Shallow, if you want to go there.
Yeah, well, people are spoiled. They think that anything with large explosions and quick editing is somehow equates to entertainment. You know, it doesn't take much effort to actually think about what's going on because you're just consuming. You're just sitting back and letting it wash over you. Blake Seven has to engage you on a fundamentally intellectual level. Yes, a lot of silly costumes. Yes, a lot of silly situations and some odd plots here and there, and some campy performances and stuff from like Brian Blessed, and I love that guy. I met him.
Really? Wow.
I filmed a commercial with him for, I think it was Carlsberg beer or something. It was like a bunch of us. And in between takes for the whole day, he was giving us anecdotes the whole day. Wow. It was so funny. He was great.
Amazing. I love him.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, it has to be engaged with on a specific level. And then bearing in mind, I watched this as a 5-6-year-old. I watched it. I was engaged with it. I was following it. I loved it. Avon was just altogether just like this hero, even though he was more of an anti-hero, but he was so engaging. And that's the thing, you know, when I think about it, when I was watching Tom Baker as my first Doctor, none of those scripts, none of those performances are done in a way that patronizes the audience.
No.
And they use a very, very complex vocabulary. You know, it's it's that's why I've got like Shakespeare in space, because it's very verbose. It's very as to say, intellectually grounded. It's got a lot of high concepts in there. The interactions are very intense. They're very intelligent. And they don't patronize you. And I think fundamentally that's somewhat lacking in a lot of today's media, is that it's so dumbed down. And Blake Seven, Doctor Who, is never dumbed down like it is now. Yeah, I think that it says it's rather a sad indictment of the current era of entertainment, where people can't use Blake Seven's age in terms of its costumes and sets and effects and everything.
Yeah.
That they are not willing to address the content, the actual content.
If you can watch old Doctor Who, then you can watch.
You're halfway there.
You can watch Blake Seven. I mean, it had all this. They were done at the same place. They had all the same, a lot of the same sets. They had the exact same Dudley Simpson background music. You know, just as he did the wonderful Blake Seven theme. So if you are susceptible to classic Doctor Who, any of the eras, then you can watch Blake Seven, and because you're of that mentality, you get it. This is
the wonderful thing. This is the wonderful thing about Blake Seven for Doctor Who fans who've never watched Blake Seven, is that if you love classic era Doctor Who, you've watched it over and over again, you've worn out the DVD, you've worn out the VHSs, you've worn out your BritBox subscription or whatever you're viewing it on. You've got this whole other sort of. I mean, you could almost be in the same universe. You know, it was almost going to be. We'll speak to that later. But Blake Seven has that. It has that, and it feels like an episode of Doctor Who. It could so easily have been. So it's a whole 4 seasons of extra sort of Doctor Who universe style drama and science fiction that you can really get into and learn to love those characters, because they are so strong. They are brilliant. We'll talk about them individually as we go along.
Yes, absolutely. Sure. Well, yeah. So they're basically, look, if you have not watched Blake Seven, if you're not someone that has to have all the slick, polished visuals and looks, if you're someone who could understand that, yes, the show was done on no budget. Paul Darrow at that con I was talking about told my friends, he said Blake Seven, he was referring to the original Star Trek when he said this, Blake Seven wouldn't, an entire season wouldn't pay for the coffee breaks on Star Trek. And he was right, you know, and and if you have no problem watching old stuff, understanding when a budget isn't there, but you can get more out of it. You can get out of it with, understanding that these are brilliant characters and brilliant writing.
There's also a fundamental thing about the cast as well, that I think what Blake Seven had that Star Trek, the original series, didn't have. And from what I've read and from what I've heard in interviews and things and interactions online, was that apart from the odd friendships on Star Trek, they weren't all like one unit. I think it was quite famous now that oh God, brain fart again.
Garrett Thomas, or you mean the original series? You mean Trek?
Yeah, the original
Shatner
series.
And Nimoy and all those guys.
Shatner and the crazy one, Sulu.
Yes, he is crazy.
Yeah, Takai
did not like him.
Yeah, so they didn't really. Well, Shatner. I didn't even know him. He's like, I want you to come to my wedding or something like that. He didn't go, so he got offended. He's like, I don't know you. But apart from that, what they had with Blake Seven, I think, was a lot more closeness. They looked after each other, because what happened, one rehearsal, I think they were doing a long film shoot in the studio, and it had to go into overtime, so it would finish after midnight or something like that.
Right.
And so let me have a look, because I'm so bad with names, as you can already tell.
You looking for Trek names? And which ones? What do you need?
Cast names. Cause I'm so.
Oh well, there's George Takei, Walter Koenig. Jamie.
No. Blake Seven. Let me.
Garrett Thomas, Paul Darrow, Michael Keating, John Chappell.
Jan Chappell. Yeah,
Love her. I love
Jan
Callie.
Chappell. Jan Chappell, who plays Callie, she had a young daughter, and she needed to have someone to babysit for her because she was going to be filming like into midnight, and they were like not helping. Like the crew were not doing anything. So she's like, "I'm so worried," and she didn't say anything, but I think it was Gareth Thomas who said something's not right with Jan. I beg I ask her. So Paul Darrow and Gareth Thomas sort of went with her and said, "Oh, is everything okay?" And she told them her situation. He said, "Why didn't you say something?" She said, "I didn't want to cause a fuss, but I'm really anxious about having a babysitter." So they decided there and then, amongst them all, that they were not doing any more filming until someone had sorted out a babysitter. And they were not willing to be this. We've got to film this. We've got a deadline. We've got this to do by tonight. Otherwise, it's a bit tough. We're not doing it until you sort out. And they did not budge until she was sorted out with the babysitter at like 1 o'clock in the morning. so I think that was a great camaraderie there. From what I got from Sally
Nivette.
Yeah, Nivette was who played Jenna. That she always felt, I think, a bit of an outsider. I think that's why she kind of left, because I think she felt that she was just sort of the eye candy and wasn't doing much.
And that's a shame. But Jenna was a really good character. We'll get into the characters. She was good though. But I understand. I read that she said that, and I get, her opinion is more valid than mine when it comes to something like that. But yes, that's the thing. Since we mentioned Star Trek, I'll go ahead and kind of get this out of the way, because a lot of people have said, and like you said, people have said, well, is that sort of like the BBC's Star Trek? In a sense, of course. I have always, however, considered it to be certainly that in terms of their big space opera, if you will, or space show. I've always considered Blake 7 to be the antithesis of Star Trek. Whereas, for example, Star Trek, I've always said this, Star Trek is where we want to go. Blake 7 is where we're going if we don't watch it. I mean, if we don't, if we are not careful as a human race, that's where we're going. We would rather go to Roddenberry's vision. We might end up at Terry Nation's vision, though.
I think where it stems from, I think where it stems from is typical British cynicism. Blake 7 came sort of in this post-war mentality, post-colonialist kind of things. So we've had in empires, and we know how that works. And in this, the Federation is an empire. And it's
an Orwellian empire at that.
A very Orwellian empire. It's kind of, I think it's very reminiscent of what we're seeing today. It's kind of got hints of Brave New World and 1984 thrown into one, which I think is pretty much what we're experiencing now.
Right.
So I think it's expanded its empire across the galaxy, and so you got this sort of ragtag bunch who are fighting this, they don't start off. I mean, it's really like the lead character, at least for the first series and two. But he's the idealist. He's the freedom fighter stroke terrorist who gets framed. He goes off. He gets captured and brainwashed, and his mind is washed. So he can't remember what he was about, who he was, and then he finds that he was actually leading this movement, and then he gets sucked back into it, and then he gets caught. All his followers get killed. And this is all in the first episode, so it's really intense.
There's the thing I want to do there. I'm sorry.
No.
That's what I want to do at the outset now. For those who have not seen it, before we get into a lot of the minutia of it, what I wanted to I'm going to set it up a little bit for everyone who has not seen Blake 7, and then we're just going to go from there. And then if you decide you want to be a spoiler or whatever, that's cool. But here's a basic rundown of your premise of Blake 7 for those who do not know, because we do have a couple people who said they would check it out, but they don't really know it. It's basically this. It is not Star Trek in the sense that it's just a happy-go-lucky Federation.
30,000 in space.
Yeah, but the budget was such they could only afford 7. So I don't know that. I don't even know what that means. Blake 7 basically is this. As my good friend has just described, it is it is somewhat dystopian. It is an Orwellian future, 1,000 years. This new calendar, as they call it, basically. And technology, and I've always believed that technology, which is still spacefaring, for this quote unquote Federation. If you look at the symbol that I've got on the screen there, but next to the great Avon, it lists the Star Trek Delta shield, but it's on his side. I don't know if that was symbolic, but it's been knocked over, if you will. That's why I wrote a long story back in the 90s describing how the Blake 7 could come from the Star Trek future, but I was a stupid ass fanboy. But anyway, it worked for me, but it was dumb. But anyway, so Blake 7 is basically set up like this. Mostly it's the human race. There are alien races all over the place as well, but humans are colonized on a lot of other planets, especially if their main location is still Earth. This Federation, they call it, basically controls, sometimes I say administration, but it's mostly the Federation, controls their populations. They are a military dictatorship, but they use drugs and other things to control populations. Blake had 5 years previously, when the episode The Way Back opens up, had been a very well-known dissident, a revolutionary who had been fighting this corrupt government, a big believer in freedom. And he'd been one of the serious ones, the ones that was a serious threat they had saw. So he was captured. We'll go in, that's something you need to see how that happened, transpires. But he was basically, the first one opens up The Way Back. He had been captured. He has been sort of like a reformed character, as he is referred to, where his memory had been messed with. He lived in this dome with a bunch of other drones that is, again, controlled through drugs and things like that. His memory erased of the man he was, pretty much. And the show opens up where this, a bunch of dissident groups are beginning to move again. And they realize that the one guy they can get, if they could get him, that people would follow and rally behind is a guy like Blake. He was that big. He was that important many years earlier. And so they try to get him and try to get his memory back to where it was. And the show goes from there. Basically, his memory starts to come back. The mental conditioning that done on him is starting to break down due to these dissidents trying to get his memory stirred up. And therefore, they have to frame him again and send him to a melancholy planet because martyring him.
They frame him for a heinous crime, and then they all get massacred by a snitch. And he goes through an automated court system where a computer decides his fate on the evidence is presented. It's all been crooked and skewed to frame.
He gets condemned, and that's where he gets. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, he gets
stealing your thunder.
I'm sorry about that. I'm almost done though. He gets committed to a prison planet, condemned, convicted, to sent with a bunch of prisoners on a prison ship.
London.
There you go. The middle civil administration class, whatever ship, London, and on the way to a planet called Cygnus Alpha, where he used to spend the rest of his life with a bunch of other convicts. The ship runs across a big space battle, a gigantic, beautiful, brilliant, extremely far in advance of the Federation ship is discovered. It's abandoned. We don't know why, and we don't learn why until later. We don't learn much about it till later. And because, the London and its crew want to claim it for prize money, they try to go aboard to take it over. Their people are killed, so they decide, prisoners who have less to lose, even though they just had a failed attempt to take the ship. Again, watch it for yourself. You got to watch Spacefall is a great episode, so I'm not going into detail, just basically telling you that the prisoners, Blake, Avon, and Jenna Stannis, end up being sent on over to the ship, and they end up taking this extraordinarily powerful, huge, beautiful ship that was later titled the Liberator, and Blake being the fanatic that he is, which is why his character is so brilliant and so nuanced, so layered. Blake is a fanatic. He's a hero in a sense, but he's also got a lot of, he's like a lot of fanatics. There's some narcissism there. Blake decides that this is a weapon I can use against the Federation, and Avon, the greatest character in TV history, sorry, not movies, in my opinion anyway, played by the great Paul Darrow. He's more of a cynic. He's a criminal. He says in his first episode in Spacewalk, his first one, wealth is the only reality. The only way to obtain wealth is to take it away from someone else. He just believes money is power. And look at it, a corrupt, horrible system they have there. It is. He's right. And there's your clash right there. There's your inner conflict for the entire series set up. You got one guy, all he cares about is destroying the people that destroyed him and just, overthrowing the oppressive government. Another guy just wants to make money. And it's a battle of wills, as you know, between Blake, the title character of the show, wonderfully played by the great Gareth Thomas, late great, unfortunately, and of course the late great Paul Darrow playing Avon, and all the other characters are excellent. There's your setup, though, and that's what makes this show so fascinating. The battle between,
because you never know who's going to stab who in the back at any given moment.
Remember what Villa said? He said, if it ever comes down to it, between Avon and Blake, my money's on Blake. And they said, well, half of it. I'll put the other half on Avon. And then Jenna says, that's a safe bet. He goes, anyway. But yeah.
It's some great. I mean, I think the wit of Avon is so dry, so sharp. It can cut you with a. And the worst thing is when he laughs or smiles, that's not a good sign. It is so boiling underneath all that calm exterior with Machiavellian plots springing forth left, right, and center. I mean, his mind works like on so many levels, and it really, really shows. He plays that role so perfectly. He's captivating, and he's so funny, and he knows it. He knows it, but he never laughs at his own jokes. He's absolutely cutting, but he's hilarious.
Yes, and he never laughs. And rarely, when he smiles, it's dangerous.
When he smiles, shit's going down. You're in trouble.
Smile. Yeah, I've always said that he almost, in a sense, snarls his dialogue.
Yeah. He's so
sneer to it.
Sneery, sarcastic in a way,
man.
But like not in a
smarmy way,
in an unintellectual way. Like people can be sarcastic on a dime. It doesn't take any effort. Right. But it's the way he does it. It's so needled. If I can, I think needled. Like it's so that precise.
One of the
cutting.
One of the great exchanges was in one of the really excellent episode early on in the first season, Project Avalon, when they're talking about this ice planet they're going to go down, and Blake just asks Avon, "Does it contain any intelligent life?" And Avon says, "Does the Liberator?" There's also great lines in Mission to Destiny when sometimes Avon could be not necessarily he's an anti-hero, but he would do things and then he would find an excuse. If he helped somebody, he didn't want you to know he was helping him. Callie says
he's morally ambiguous.
Well, yeah, Callie says we must help these people. He says, "Must we? Personally, I don't care if the whole planet turns into a mushroom. I shall stay because I don't like an unsolved mystery." He had to have an excuse. Oh my God, Mark do I have the Corgi diecast Liberator? I would die cast for that. No, I don't. If you have it, I'm going to be breaking into your house soon, buddy. If you have that one, no. There's a Corgi. I know there's a Corgi diecast Liberator, but I doubt it ever made overseas here. We don't even have the DVDs. Didn't even. I mean, there was no DVD release over here. And there was only VHS because it was the 90s, and it was popular over here at that point.
Yeah.
So. Do you have any toys or any artifacts?
When I was a kid, I had my cousin who was a big fan of Blake 7, and we used to watch it when I visited my auntie and cousins. And he had a Corgi toy Liberator, tiny little miniature one, and he gave that to me. When I lost that one, I had to get another one. So
nice.
I think I bawled and begged and pleaded to have another one. And I did.
You know, the coolest thing I ever saw at a con back in the late '80s, early '90s, whatever it was. Some guy had made a complete and a full size replica of Aurak. Good God! It was
Brilliant!
That was
brilliant. Yeah, Aurak is that's the thing with Blakeson. You got the 5 main human cast, but you've also later on. Well, I mean, you've got the Liberator, which has the computer Zen, who is the 6th, I guess, member of the 7.
Yes.
And then later on, you get Aurak, who is a sort of, I guess, handheld computer. I mean,
yes.
I mean, like a crate.
Yes,
if you want to go.
Yeah. And that's how the testament to how brilliant the writing of this show is. This ridiculous little transparent box with a bunch of stupid wires and shit in there is a great character.
Yeah,
a little box.
Absolutely.
That's how good.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, Aurak was brilliant because he was like, if it wasn't Villa, it was Aurak who was Avon's foil. You know, he was always testing him because Aurak is obviously this supercomputer and it's got this personality of this crazy scientist that invented him, so it sort of downloaded his personality.
Right.
And he's intellectually vastly superior to absolutely everyone and knows it. And looks down at his masters asking him stupid questions. So him and Avon have this sort of love-hate relationship, I think, because it's like they're testing each other almost. They're goading each other. And it's a joy to watch. I mean, Avon talking to this silly box. And he's just having this argument with this bloody computer.
Aurak is not above putting its own interest in front of the ship. It would gladly sacrifice everyone. It has put everyone
even
in
the
danger.
Computer, yeah.
It's put everyone in danger a couple of times. In Shadow, was it Dawn of the Gods? I believe there were a couple of them where Aurak, it's tough to trust Aurak. I mean, it knows that it's a little box and it needs people, but it kind of uses everyone in a sense. I mean, it can't be bothered. But it all,
it just looks down its nose at them, isn't it? It's just
fascinating.
Stupid human kind of.
But you know,
wasn't Aurak played by the same guy who played the voice of Zen as well?
Yes, Peter Tuddenham, wonderfully voiced. Yeah. Well, actually, in the episode Aurak, the actor that played Insor, and I'm forgetting his name. He did the voice in that episode. But yes, starting with the second season, Peter Tuddenham did both the voice of Zen and Aurak. And Zen, even Zen, Zen, you would think doesn't really have a personality, and yet it did. I mean, when Zen finally, kicks it, you feel it. Wow, it's sad.
Oh yeah. Spoilers.
Well done. Oh yeah, look, this is a spoilery now for anyone, but yeah. I did spoiler there. Well, there's the thing about Blake 7. People die. I think
that was another first on TV. Having characters that you love and you grow with and you follow their adventures, and then all of a sudden one is snatched away from you, and then it's just like heartbroken. It's like, what?
Yes, I love it.
and then it happens again and again and again, and I mean, it's.
Well,
without going into too much spoiler territory,
right.
I mean, it is the original Game of Thrones. It's like you never know who's safe. Anyone's up for being taken out.
You know what a great example of the writing, because what you're saying there, the reason why this show is so well written, in my opinion, one of my favorite episodes is, of course, Aftermath, which takes place right after Star One.
A great episode. Yeah.
This one, and there's Rumors of Death, also a great one. And there are two examples here. This show could take, and often did, it would take it would have a narrative scene where you would meet two incidental nobody characters, not main cast characters. It'll give you a little bit of an exchange of a dialogue for a couple of seconds. Then it'll kill these characters, but you don't know these people from Adam, and you feel it. At the beginning of Aftermath, you had two Federation officers who had crash landed on that planet, and where, of course, Dana and her father had lived, And one of them played by Richard Franklin, who played Mike Yates on the old classic Doctor Who, as a matter of fact.
That's right. Yeah.
And another guy. And look, all they do is talk for a couple of minutes, and they think they're okay. Again, that's another thing about this Federation. A lot of the people who've written in it are not mindless automatons. They're written as people. Well, a few minutes later, after you get to the characters interact for a few minutes, a few lines of dialogue, nothing special. But they make it special because then all along comes a couple of barbarians and kills them.
Yeah.
You felt it because they weren't Star Trek red shirts. I love Star Trek. When a red shirt gets polished away, you forget about it. You don't feel it. You just don't. And I love Star Trek. These people, I'm like, damn, these guys, they were like just kind of good old, good guys, good enough people, and they just get slaughtered. I felt it more because they make you do that. In Rumors of Death, same deal. These two guards that are watching the presidential palace get about 2 or 3 scenes together. The major and his section leader of dialogue that humanizes them, and then when I know it's spoiler. What the hell? Shows are old. When they do get killed, it impacts on you. Whereas, again, a nothing character that speaks and does nothing, you just don't think about it. This show is so well written that that's just always been a clever thing to me. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the thing. When you've got such nuanced characters who you followed for such a long time, and you've seen their interactions, you've seen them sort of starting to trust each other and starting to work with each other rather than against each other, sort of coming around to Blake's way of thinking, and Avon's sort of his moral ambiguity is still there, but it seems a lot more sort of less manic. He sort of seems to be coming around, but obviously there are some episodes like Orbit, for example, where that ambiguity is completely removed. All of a sudden, you're like, "Oh fuck!" But yeah, I mean, it's it's great. I mean, it's not just like this constant chase story, and they're constantly being. I mean, like by series 3, the Federation's in tatters, and there's been a massive alien war. We don't know who these aliens are. All hell breaks loose, and now it's just like a free for all. So it becomes really like the Wild West, and it's you just never know what's coming. It's really, really all over the place at that point, because it all the things you sort of hooked your reliance on has just been taken away. So you're just kind of left in sort of this post-apocalyptic situation where we don't know who's won. The remnant of the Federation, and we get the president has been replaced by the commander, Servman, who we'll talk about in a bit, who's this very sort of femme fatale, very camp female leader who's like, she kind of, I guess she kind of, if you want to get an idea of what she's like, she's kind of a bit like Diana from V.
Yes, but
and she sort of really takes up. Well,
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Jacqueline Pierce.
Jacqueline Pierce is just something else. I mean, she was big in sort of like the Hammer horror movies in the 60s and 70s, wasn't she? She was quite the fox, and she was in a few Carry On movies as well. So
so not to put too fine a point on it, for as someone who was a freak for long hair on a woman, I once said if I were main rule of the universe, women would not be allowed to cut their hair. She has short hair, and it doesn't even bother. She's still just, oh my god, she's got
these amazing eyes and his big jawbone sort of structure, and she's very elegant, very posh. She's got this very short shaven hair, not shaven like short, but like short hair. And she dresses in like the most outrageous costume. I mean, they get more and more outrageous as they go. Look,
a Supreme Commander.
80s over the top.
It's amazing.
It's like totally practical shoes for running around in a quarry. But her relationship with, I mean, she's obsessed with getting Blake killed. Absolutely, and getting her hands on that Liberator. It's the fastest ship in the galaxy. It's so powerful, like it would just put her on top of everything. She would rule the galaxy. But she's got this. She's obsessed with killing Blake and getting hold of Blake. But she really, really sort of, I guess it's a kind of a weird S&M sort of fantasy she's in her mind with her and Avon.
Oh, she becomes obsessed with Avon.
She's obsessed with Avon.
Later.
More, she just wants to get Blake out of the way, and then she's ruled the galaxy with Avon. I think she thinks she can get him on side.
Oh, she's pissed.
Yeah,
Aftermath.
It's a really strange relationship. And then you've got her henchman, Brain.
Travis. Yes.
Travis. Yeah. Who is her sort of right-hand thug man, who every single attempt to get the Liberator or to kill Blake or to take down Avon fails miserably. He gets foiled every damn time. I think that's kind of why they kind of got rid of him, was it? Because he was just so ineffectual. She was getting so fed up with him. Yeah, she was going to have him taken out anyway because he was just, and he thought he was in with a chance with her, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, she wasn't having any of it. She was just using him. But he had his own sort of history with Blake. You know, he lost his eye. Yeah, he's a bit of a pantomime villain, that one. And the cast change from the first series to the second series was a bit jarring.
Well, yeah,
he's got this sort of Shakespearean way of speaking. The next minute he's a bit cockney.
I love Stephen Greif and as the first Travis, but yeah, what's the other guy's name?
Croucher,
Brian Croucher or whatever it is, something like that.
Brian Croucher.
Also good, but different. Yeah,
very different. Yeah, that was a bit jarring. But again, you know, back then we did have VHS sort of preliminarily, you know, but not everyone did. So it was like you couldn't just watch it and rewatch it on VHS and go, well, that doesn't make sense. You know, people will move on, forget, or you know, they hope they forget. But yeah, I mean, it's still a good casting. But it was obviously a bit jarring.
Yes, yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? They have to, you know, they needed Travis. He provided pretty good foil. Well, you know, early on when in the very first episode that they met, or not the very first, one of the seconds, I believe, duel, basically Star Trek's version of, Blake Seven's version of Arena from Star Trek, where Blake and Travis had their big face off as induced by aliens. There was an interesting Blake said when he said something about as long as Travis is alive, I know that he's the one that'll be sending after me, and I know I could beat him.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a chance against me. Arrogant on Blake's part.
That was the best they had, and it sort of got to the point where Servalan was like, "Oh, bugger this! I'm going to do it myself," you know. So she kind of dispensed with, or he was dispensed with.
Even she said that at one point, like, it's just a shame that you're the best. You're the best I have. Well, that's what you get when you get a federation full of yes men and zombies. And that, I mean, that's.
I think that's what she wanted. Avon. She wanted Avon because she thought, if I had him on my side, I would be unbeatable.
Yes.
And there was definite moments where I think you weren't sure if Avon was just stringing her along or whether he is actually thinking about it. But that's the joy of that character. You just don't know. He's so multi-layered, and you're thinking, God, is he going to betray Blake? Is he going to betray everyone? Is he going to go with her? And he had that kiss, you know, the infamous kiss, and then he's just using her. He tosses her aside. He's like, important to me. Don't give a shit. You know, he's more about the money and. He wants the Liberator. That's his ultimate goal, is to get the Liberator from Blake. Once the revolution has been done, just whatever, part ways, I keep the Liberator. You have your little hippie party or whatever. I'm going to go off and make money.
It started to manifest in terms of what you're talking about, his goal, Avon's want for the Liberator. In the second season, in the episode Pressure Point, when they were all going to go, they thought they were attacking Federation computer control on Earth. It was pretty interesting where, you know, at the beginning, because Avon's always the one giving him trouble. He's always the one not wanting to do anything. He's always the one, like, you know, tired of this stupid revolution crap. Nevertheless, he knew that Blake was kind of like, all right, so just stop messing around, Avon. You going to go with me or not? He says, well, of course. I'm the only one who could even deal with the computers. He says, I understand that. And he goes to get what, you going to tell me why? He says, I like the challenges. Now, you really want to tell me why? He says, well, if we're successful, basically along the lines of, with you running everything on Earth, because they're going to have to, you're the only one that they would follow. And he says, possibly. He goes, no, don't be modest, Blake. You're the only one that they would all follow. With you down on Earth, someone's got to be in charge of all this. Basically, that was the first time Avon says, I want the Liberator.
Yeah.
And
it's part of the bargain. I think it's quite established earlier. I think he's like, once all this is over, it's mine. I want the Liberator. I think it's like even by episode 4 or 5 in the first series, he's like, I want the Liberator.
That was it. Yeah, that was like, it was pressure. But the thing is, they didn't really talk about it that much. It was kind of it was a de facto type of a thing. But then in Star One, I just love the change. That's probably my favorite episode when they're about to go. Star One is, of course, the computer concept, or whatever you call it, the computer control complex that they finally found as they're searching for it for so long. Avon, usually he's not the one charging in. He's usually the one wanting to hold back or who's bitching and moaning about any of this stuff. He says, "Why are you listening to this drivel, Blake? We could take Star One. Let's get on with it." Jenna says, "Very Sterling, when did you become a believer?" And it just says, "Are you going to listen to it? Are you just going to sit there? You've led them by the nose before." He says, "Excuse me, are you going to answer her question?" And he goes, "Show me anyone who believes in anything, and I will show you a fool." As far as
well, that's very Robert Anton Wilson, isn't it? Belief is the death of intelligence. Yeah, it's true. I mean, belief is such conviction can lead you off a cliff. It's you can only see as far as your nose, and that's not as not a great intellectual argument for anything,
Oh, no. And look, that's why he tells. That was when he tells Blake up front. He says, "As far as I'm concerned, you could destroy anything you like." Oh, that's when Blake basically said, I meant what I said on Goth, Avon. We're not going to use Star One to just control the Federation. We're going to destroy it. He said, I never doubted that. I never doubted your fanaticism. As far as I'm concerned, you could destroy whatever you like. You could lead the revolution. You could lead the rabble to victory, whatever that might mean. As long as when it's done, I want it done. I want it over and done with, and I want to be free. And Callie says, but you are free now, Avon. He says, I want to be free of him. And Blake says, I never realized you really do hate me. And he just says, when we have dealt with Star One, I'll take you back to Earth, and the Liberator is mine. Agreed? Blake says agreed, but Blake is such a sneak. He goes, assuming the others go along with it. Because Blake is no pushover. People always think Avon's the greatest character.
I think Blake, Avon secretly respects
he does. More than that. But see,
he resents him for... It's a weird one. Again, it's so complex. I love that friction, because they're sort of more than matched. I think Avon sort of can't understand his passion, and he thinks it's foolish. But he can see his leadership quality in that he can rally people, and he's a great leader. And I think obviously Blake. I think even at the end he admits that I always trusted you. I always knew you'd do the right thing. And that was a really such a big moment when Avon's like, oh, fuck, what have I done?
Yeah, he does. He doesn't like. He doesn't like any of what's going on, but he sees that that being on the Liberator's hell of a lot work. Being on Cygnus Alpha,
it's his best chance of survival. I mean that he's a survivalist,
right? It's opportunity as well, which Avon still is about. The thing is, when he tells he wants to be gone. When he wants his freedom, But first of all, people talk about what a great character Avon is. Is true. He's not without Blake. Blake makes him a great character, because you've got to have somebody there for him to bounce off of, and for him, you have to have resistance. You have to have someone basically who can Blake does have some control over Avon a little bit, because he has some. He knows he can't win in a power struggle.
He knows he's indispensable, because his qualities as a computer engineer are second to none, and he can hack into anything. He can work out the alien technology of the Liberator, and
right.
Well, see, he's trying to take it over. I think because he's also a bit jealous of Jenna's psychic connection to the Liberator. That's how she manages to work it. So he kind of doesn't like the fact that she's got that information. So he wants to work things out for himself. So he's always sort of tweaking away at things, trying to learn more. In the back.
Blake understands a lot of things. Blake is really smart. Okay, he really is not Avon level brilliant with science, but he's smart and that's why he's a leader. He manipulates people.
He's space wise.
And Avon said it before. You've all been you were a master manipulator. He's basically said that to Blake, and he's basically
wants no one.
Look, he knows that he can't win in a power struggle with the crew with Blake. They will side with Blake.
Absolutely. But he does test the water with, and he kind of realizes his place. So he sort of goes, fine, I have to tag along because otherwise they'll turn against me. And people are never sure of his motives, never. And he's a survivor. His interests are his own self-survival. Like one quote, it's just like probably the most famous quote of Avon. It's like, I am not expendable, I'm not stupid, and I'm not going.
Horizon. And that was an episode where he almost left Blake. Dude, so here's the thing. I don't know if he really meant to. There's a wonderful episode. I'm glad you mentioned it because they all went down like idiots down to this planet and got captured. And Avon, after he says that, they all go down, every one of them. Yeah. And he's not going down. Even Callie finally goes down. And he's down there with
he's thinking about not letting them back on.
He asks Orak for the odds of his survival if he takes place. He tells him, we got enough food for the last 1,000 years, so you're good there. How much with your, you running the ship and me, can we, for example, how many ships could we survive in a Federation fight with? He tells him about 3. And look at the look on his face. He's like, so therefore, I do not need Blake. I do not need the others. I do not need anyone. And then he could have just taken off right there. He goes to the flight deck. He's really thinking, God, this is all mine now. Because it is all his now. But then he's informed that these ships are on the way, these Federation ships. And he asks Orak, how many? And he tells him. And then he starts busting out laughing, knowing that he's got to go get the crew because he can't make it. He's laughing at himself. Or is he relieved? Because he really cares about him.
That's the thing. That's what I love. That's the example of not only the incredible writing, but the actual performances. It's so layered. You don't know. There's no inner dialogue in this. It's like you have to take everyone at their word. You can only sort of guess and work out what's going on there behind their eyes and the things that they're saying and things that they're doing. And when he, as I said, when he laughs, you don't want to see that because you don't know what it means. It's never clear cut when he laughs and smiles. You don't do that, please. Don't smile. Don't smile. But when he laughed like that, it was just like the absurdity of the situation. I think was just like, I can't win. I'm never going to win. One way or the other. It's like, and I think maybe like he's kind of fighting with himself. He's got a massive ego, but he's got I think there is an element of compassion, otherwise he wouldn't have the motivation to do the things that he does. But it's so well hidden. I think he wants to do the right thing, but not at his own cost. As long as he's all right, as long as he's safe, he will go in and save the others. And multiple times he does put himself in danger to save the others. So it does evolve over time. He does, I think, form bonds with these people. But he's always very careful to keep at arm's length because I think this is someone who's been really hurt in the past. So he doesn't want to let people in. Yeah. There's all that so much going on. That's so crafted and brilliantly conceived. Even the later characters that come in later, they all come in very fully formed. And that's just hat tip to the wonderful the writers who contributed to this show. I think they really seem to understand the human condition and how complex people are. And people are not cut and dry. People are not good and bad. There's so many layers of so many different things, and both good and bad, you know. And sometimes one tips the balance, the other tips the other way. You know, and at any given moment, you know, they're on a fulcrum of morality, so they could be one thing or the other the next. And I think that's what makes Avon particularly compelling, because he really is like at the pinnacle of that fulcrum. He's so on the edge all the time. And I think that that's a joy to watch. And it's a joy when he interacts with the other team members, because I mean, as it progresses, you know, Blake disappears, he does become the de facto leader, and people unwillingly, but relent. They accept him as the leader, really, because he is so smart. He is, because of his own self-interest. They think if they stick with him, his self-interest will see us through, because he doesn't want to die. So they are sort of compelled to remain with him or stick with him. And it's interesting. Yeah, but then there's obviously that the scene with Villa and Avon in that the shuttle ship where they're hurtling towards the planet
orbit. Yeah.
It's just like all that flies completely out the bloody window.
Well, what Raven once did say, I look on self-interest as my great strength. True. Oh, another Blake 7 geek confession here. I once, back in the like late 80s or whatever, because again, this is how fanatic I am about Avon, just the whole show, but Avon, I once, Purple Valkyrie, welcome, great to see you here. Thank you for stopping by.
The lovely Purple Valkyrie.
Purple, absolutely.
She's actually, I've made her a high priestess of the Temple of the Golden Aztec, because she is his wrench. So she's like the golden wrench.
Well, I am honored.
Wrench.
I'm honored to have you here, Purple Valkyrie. Thank you so much for stopping by. I was going to make a confession of something I did once as a geek, as a Blake 7 and Avon in particular fanboy. I once made a compilation VHS tape. I took all the episodes and I put together all the great Avon scenes, and I'm kid you not, it came up to almost like 5 hours. And I just cut together all of my favorite Avon scenes, and I named the tape Avon, the Man, the Myth, the Bastard. And friends and I would sit there sometimes and just watch it. And, you know, look, Avon's greatest hits.
I would seriously. I mean, there is I think it's
and there are videos
like a 10-minute video. Yeah, like Avon's wittiest remarks or whatever.
Oh yeah.
If anyone's in any doubt whatsoever about watching this show, watch that. And if you're not convinced just by that alone, I don't know what else I can tell you, because it's a gem. It's an absolute gem. It cracks me up every time I watch it.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, and I used to watch that thing over and over again. And I mean, obviously, I watch episodes as well, but it's just to sit there and just watch some Avoning, if you will. A nice evening with Avoning there.
Evening, yes. Good evening.
Yeah, good
Avon
evening.
calling.
Avon calling. Yeah, that was the other thing. Getting used to that name Avon at first, though, because we thought about makeup. I'm like, a dude's name after like a makeup thing. What the hell is this?
Well, I mean, there was some people would call him Avon, and some people would call him Avon.
Yeah, that sounds better. Avon.
Yeah, I think.
Like Avon, so. Actually, Blake called him Avon a couple of times.
Yes, he did. I think they finally sort of settled on it as it went along. It was Avon. Yeah.
Another wonderful Avon saying of mine is an exchange with Callie when she says, "My people have a saying, he who trusts cannot be betrayed, only mistaken." And to which he retorted, "The lifespan amongst your people must be rather limited."
His way with words.
Oh,
he could cut anyone to a stump.
That delivery alone, man.
He's so deadpan. He's got this kind of very nasal voice, and he's very
yeah. Like, so try, after, and again, he's a bastard, okay? Because right after Blake got Gan killed in Pressure Point, the episode Trial, which was a great episode, when he basically, obviously he's feeling pretty horrible, pretty down. You can't feel any down. Would Avon kick a guy when he's down? Hell yes, he would. He basically said when he was, Blake was going to go cry about it on this planet, and Avon says, "Well, should you get into trouble, one of your followers, one of your 3 remaining followers may try to rescue you." And he looks at him. He goes, "Well, you'll just have to talk. Maybe you'll have to talk them out of it." And he goes, "And they might even listen to you this time." And Blake and Avon said, "Why not? After all, I don't get them killed." I mean, he was a son of a bitch. It was.
He's a cunning linguist.
Oh, it was great. And then later, he even told the crew. He says, when they finally do decide to save him, he goes, "Which just leaves one question to be asked: Is it that Blake has a genius for leadership, or that you have a genius for being led?" God,
every line is pure gold. Every line that comes out of his mouth. I mean, that alone is enough to keep you watching. You know, anything could be going on. You're watching for Avon to see what gold is going to fall out of his mouth next. It's can't sing his praise enough. He is the greatest TV character ever.
Ever.
Along. I mean, I'm talking as a Whovian here, as a Tom Bakerite. He's up there shoulder to shoulder with Tom Baker as far as I'm concerned.
Avon and the Fourth Doctor would clash, but it would be
yes,
brilliant.
I would love to have seen that. Anyone out there wants to do a fanfic, do that, but do it well.
You know that there is sort of a crossover between the Doctor Who universes and Blake 7, very tiny.
I know that there was going to be an episode. Terry Nation wanted to bring the Daleks in. And maybe Tom Baker's. Right. That obviously never happened, but it was floated, but it was ultimately rejected. Well, I don't know if that was a good idea or bad. I think maybe a bad idea in the terms of it's good that it's got its own integrity as its own freestanding thing. I think if you'd have guested Daleks of Doctor Who in there, I think you're kind of changing that universe somewhat, and it kind of overpowers it because everyone is obviously. I mean, I think Doctor Who at the time when Blake 7 started was getting 16 million viewers, and Blake 7 at its height was about 10 million or something like that. So it was under its shadow. So I think it's probably just as well I did keep that separate. Although obviously, as a fan of both, it would have been lovely.
Oh. Yes.
And maybe as a special or something, as a standalone thing. But
the closest we will ever get, though, I don't know if you're familiar. Well, there was a writer on both Doctor Who and Blake 7 named Chris Boucher, who was script editor on the second season of Blake 7. He wrote a second season episode called Weapon, brilliant episode. And there was a character in it. Again, he was, we talked about earlier how great they are at bit characters. Obviously, they're main characters. Yes, that's not easy, but it's easier to establish, recurring characters and regular characters. The bit characters, when you could do those so brilliantly, like the show did, and there was a character called Cornell. He was a psychostrategist consulting with Servalan, and a couple of really steamy scenes between the two, like a lot of innuendo-filled scenes. Really great. Really good actor.
Is there woman,
Oh yeah, this guy was. He was great. He was really good.
He put Travis in his place.
Oh yeah, he did. He did not like Travis. He was predicting everything, and he was basically, they referred to them as puppeteers or whatever. Well, that character of Cornell. Chris Boucher also wrote the Doctor Who classic, Tom Baker classic episode of The Robots of Death. Yes. Well, back when the BBC novels were coming out, when they were doing new stories, there was a Fourth Doctor novel called Corpse Marker, which was a sequel to Robots of Death. And in that story, he put the character of Cornell in there. Cornell goes into the TARDIS. And he's a Blake 7 character. So Chris Boucher gave us, I remember when I read that, I bought it because I was buying those books. And of course, I loved Robots of Death, and I love Boucher, and I love some of his episodes. I'm reading that and going, holy shit, he put Cornell in there. He said, fuck it, no one will ever know, except fans, So if you ever find Corpse Marker, it's a book.
Yeah, I saw Robots of Death at the BFI in London during the 50th anniversary, and that was great. We had Tom Baker there and Philip Hinchcliffe. I think was Philip Hinchcliffe in that. I know.
That was
it was the Robots of Death panel.
And
it was great. Yeah, I actually got the last question in for Tom Baker. I can't remember what it was now.
Nice.
I met him once. I was very upset.
The only doctors I have met. Well, I've met other people. I've met JNT, Nicholas Courtney, Colin Baker, Peter Davison a couple of times. Sylvester McCoy a couple of times. Sophie Aldred a couple of times. I'm a big Ace fan. A lot of people aren't. I love Ace. And Elizabeth Sladen. So I met a few of them, but love them.
I met as I said before we started the stream, John Pertwee when I was at when I went to see The Ultimate Adventure, Doctor Who: The Ultimate Adventure. So I actually got to see him play the Doctor on stage, and got to meet him afterwards in his dressing room. He was absolutely lovely. And my Doctor Who school fan club went to the filming of Ghostlight. We got to dress rehearsal, so we met Sylvester and Sophie there.
That's
so I was there with my knitted question mark sweater, and there's Sylvester in his costume, but he wasn't wearing the sweater. He went snap, and I was like, "Well, you're not wearing yours." So it's a bit hot during dress rehearsal, so I took it off. And Sophie was there. She was lovely. She was in a big gown, a Victorian gown, and we had JT and Nicholas Courtney and a whole host of people. Hinchcliffe and Terence Dix would come and visit our school to give us talks on Doctor Who. We were so spoiled. And we had all the VHS episodes that were not released at any point. So we had Pertwee episodes in black and white and copies of copies. It was like, video nasties. And it was great. I was so it's the only reason I went to that damn rotten school. I hated it, but it was like my absolute savior of my, I loved it. Yeah. And it was all the time Sylvester McCoy's era.
I love it. I'm a big fan of McCoy. Really.
Yeah, I've grown to like him more. I mean, at the time, I wasn't so keen. Didn't like the costume at the time, but I grew to like it. I even went to a school fete dressed as the Seventh Doctor. I got absolutely bullied to shit for it, but I didn't care.
Brown jacket or the white jacket?
It was a cream jacket.
Okay.
Because I think it was a cream jacket at the time, so it was before before his last season. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I love him. I was a big fan of. Again, sometimes I'm more a fan of the Doctor than some of the stories they have. Obviously, with Colin Baker,
I love some of the Sylvester McCoy Big Finish stories.
Oh yes.
I think he comes into his own more. I was listening to a Colin Baker one last night, and I absolutely loved it. And I can't remember which one it was. It was really surreal, very comedic one. It's him with Mel as the companion, and they have to go on this quest, and they've got these crazy robots. Mel and the one Doctor, that was it. So he had this con artist pretending to be the Doctor, saving a planet from a fake alien invasion to extort money from them. It's really, really good. If anyone likes Big Finish, go and listen to that story. It's really comedic, but it's still got the kind of Doctor. It's a bit more sort of Douglas Adamsy humor.
Nice.
I mean, it's really well written and really well acted. And these robots, these psychotic robots in there who force Mel and this fake Doctor to assemble this impossible shelf that keeps losing bits through time and reality. So it's just into other dimensions, so it can never fully be built. But they don't realize that it can never be built. So they go back and say, well, we've done the best we can, but they don't know what it looks like because the instructions kept changing and growing and growing and growing and growing. So it would never stop. So they wouldn't even know what the finished product would look like. So they managed to confuse it. And the robots are just the funniest. It's so comedic. It's so brilliantly written and acted. It's fantastic. I've never particularly taken to Mel as a companion. She was great in this. No screaming, so your ears are safe.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, I've always thought it was one of those things where I thought she was probably a lovely person and probably a really good actress, but the way Mel was written
met her. She's lovely. Yeah. It's a shame. I think she's a good actress. Actually, she's. I don't watch it anymore, but I used to watch some EastEnders. She was cast in that, and she's really good at doing the gritty stuff as well. Actually, I was quite surprised.
That's good.
Anyway, Blake 7.
I've heard of it. I've heard of that. Yes, but no. Well, look, Doctor Who's a cousin. We could float there once in a while. Nothing wrong with it.
Well, yeah.
Because after all, as you well know, some of our wonderful Blake 7 actors have actually even been on Doctor Who. So, and vice versa.
Well, yeah, Paul Darrow was going to be a major unit character, but he ended up.
He was on twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Keating has been on there
Yeah.
as well. Yeah. As far as the main cast, I believe those are the only two. No, Jacqueline Pierce, of course, was also a guest.
Yes. Yes. Later on, the two doctors. Yes,
the two doctors, which I'm one of the few people that actually likes and admits it. But well, I guess just because it's got a lot of fun stuff in it, and she's in it, so you know.
Yeah.
I admit to liking Time Lash, and it's not good.
I have been trolling
the
crap out of Noel from the TARDIS Zone because we do these Doctor Who watch-alongs every Saturday.
Yes.
And I've recently sort of become part of that panel, and I've been sort of egging them on to do Time Lash, and they so don't want to do it. And I'm like, do it. I actually like the story. It's a complete set piece. You know, it's totally studio based. So you got all the white corridors and white sets, so it's not particularly visually interesting. You got Paul Darrow playing the villain in it, and he's got this terrible wig on. But it's such a really interesting story. It's one of those, the Doctor's been here before in another incarnation.
Yeah,
I like that. I mean, that's why I like The Face of Evil, because it's one of those sort of stories, and it's like the sort of the aftermath of things he's done when he thinks he's done something good, and he's fucked it up. He's just like, he has to fix it, you know. I like that. We're actually doing I think we're doing Face of Evil next. I don't think it's this Saturday because he's on Nerderotic, but big Doctor Who stream on Saturday on Nerderotic's channel about the current state of fandom, which is a very big topic at the moment. If anyone's been following what's going on Twitter.
Noel's going to be on there? Or you?
Yes, Bolstrick's going to be on there.
Oh, great. That's
Saturday?
Saturday,
yeah. It's a big sort of round table, if you like.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And tonight, of course, today's Friday, so tonight you'll have Friday Night Tights and Doomcock. That's all I do now is sit and watch these. Those.
Yes, I know.
I never have to find something to watch ever.
And then come Monday, you're like, I want someone screaming now. It's a void, you know, nature abhors a vacuum.
You know, the only reason I picked Saturday night, even though I guess there's most people are resting from that big long Friday, since I figure I know there's still some others on who are, you know, actually have viewers. I don't, but I just I figured Saturday night is kind of vacant because, you know, those
Friday
guys
has become my new clubbing night, you know, because, you know, when I was younger, obviously I'd be out on Friday nights partying my ass off, and now it's like I'm staying up all night to you know, be in tune with what's going on the other side of the pond, so I can watch and enjoy it, because it's so. I mean, Gary, for me,
he's amazing.
It's very rare that you come across someone who's so absolutely spot on. And I fundamentally agree with him so much. I mean, even his taste of music and the things, you know, the things that he like. That's why I knew he'd like Blake Seven. You know, I just got a vibe off this guy. I was like, I kind of recognize that in myself. So yeah, I was just like, I'm gonna target him until he watches it, and he did. So
he's amazing, and he's put together just a fantastic show. And again, he can never mention that he owned a comic shop too much to me. I know people like to joke about it because I owned one. I was in the business, and one day I'd love to talk comic shop. I'm nobody. He's never going to talk to me, but I'd love to talk comic shop.
You know, never know. You never know.
And you know what? When he does finally do what he's trying to do, open that comic shop or whatever, which it's looking like it'll be relatively close to me, I'm going to make a trip and go there. I will definitely go to that shop when he opens.
Do it,
as he says. And Friday Night Tights is fantastic, and so yeah, I love that.
As is a brilliant addition.
This is entertainment.
Flying the flag for Britain.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I love him. That crazy bastard. He is something amazing. You know,
he is so northern. I tell you now. I have a friend who he reminds me of so fucking much. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they breed him up there, but they're cast iron. You know, his humor is spot on. I totally relate to him. He's absolutely fabulous.
I also love Doomcock. That's the thing. When he comes on, I kind of jump back and forth a little bit because I want to be there for him because he's been a good buddy to me and a real good friend to me. So I love him. And you know, a couple years back when he was first getting started, somebody came into my show on BTR and said, "Hey, Mike, are you secretly Doomcock?" I thought he was kidding. I said, "Well, I kind of knew who he was. I knew who Doomcock was. I'd seen some of his videos. He wasn't really streaming or anything. He was just doing videos." I said, "Well, why do you think that? Are you kidding me? No, are you serious? Are you? Come on, tell me." And I said, "No, man, I wish I was that good." And he goes, "Why?" I said, "Why?" He says, "Because he says all the same stuff you've been saying for years, and he yells and screams and cuts up it." Because I have been known to rant and yell and scream. I'm not doing it now, but I mean, he said all those fun rants you've always done over the years. He sounds like you. I said, "Well, he does a voice thingy. We don't." I said, "Yeah, but other than because we never heard his real voice at that point. It was always masked on his videos." I said, "Well, I'm flattered you say that. No, I'm nowhere near in that guy's league. He's great. I love that shtick he does and everything." And I said, "But he says, yeah, but you rant like him and you say a lot. You agree on a lot of the same." I said, "Well, thanks." But and then I started hitting him up, and like at the beginning of 2019, I had him on here, and on my Black Talk show, and he was gracious enough to spend a lot of time with me in an interview, and he was a lot of fun. So he's a cool dude. He's been a good friend to me, and he's had me on his show, and just love that guy. And then I love Gary too, man. Those guys, and there are a lot of other fandom ministers that I love their shows as well. So it's great entertainment.
Yeah, well, I think as long as people get what they want from it, and they know how to provide to the audience, I was a big sort of fan of Doomcock and obviously Gary and Bolstrek and the rest of it, and they've been coming under a lot of fire, increasingly more so nowadays. But it's Doomcock not so much anymore because reasons I won't go into. But it's complex fandom. We have to understand that, and we don't always agree in things, and we don't always see eye to eye. And people are complex beings, so I understand that people are complex beings, and we have to acknowledge that we are flawed, and I think we do. I think we're very self-effacing, and probably a lot more honest in terms of how we are in the fandom compared to with the people who seem quite happy seeing the destruction of our franchises. But
yes, very true.
Yeah.
It's sad, man.
I think as long as the voices are out there and people hang on those words, and because it's not that they don't just give them money and follow them because they're being brainwashed. They follow them because they say the things that they're feeling. That's what the other side don't understand. These people are not successful because they are that great an orator that they're gonna convert people like some weird cult. It's not like that at all. It's just they're expressing very articulately how we feel, and how on earth that can be misinterpreted as anything else other than sheer honesty. And coming from a good place, and from a place that cares about minorities and all the rest of it, because we see how cynically it's employed in the current era, because it's not done from a genuine concern for people of different ethnic minorities or sexual groups or sexuality or whatever. It's employed cynically. It's done as tokenism, and that has to be called out. That's not a reason to do anything. I mean, if you look at Blake 7, that's a diverse cast. You've got some strong female leads. You've got a strong independent black woman on there, and no one cared. It was great. Everyone's, she's a great character. Dana's a great character. And it's never addressed because it
shouldn't matter.
In a way, it may be a dystopian future, but that still carries the kind of Star Trek. We've moved on from these ridiculous, outdated modes of tribalism. It's
absolutely,
it's ahead of its time. It still is to this day, and even more so now because of what's going on. So much of a big deal is made out of casting people of color or people of different races, genders, or whatever. And it's like, well, I'm a gay man. Don't make an issue out of it. I don't wear it on my sleeve.
How dare you?
I don't. Yes, I don't wave a fucking flag. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't believe that sexuality comes prepackaged with ideological beliefs, and that you must get on board unwillingly. It's outrageous.
Ridiculous.
It's so outdated. Like I thought we got over all of this shit. You know, we got equality. Move on. Not good enough. Okay, right. So
Well,
I mean, when these people use these things and say this brave and stunning casting because it's a black woman or it's a gay woman or a gay man or whatever. So what? So fucking what? Gay men have been playing straight people for fucking decades. It's never been an issue. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Ever since there was a Hollywood. It's absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, even Shakespeare, men were playing the women's parts. I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
And I bet not all of them were you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
well, on my side, let's put it that
way. I'm a Rock Hudson. You know, it was just one of the most. I mean, there were probably plenty we don't even know about. But I'm just. I use him as a glaring example because he was one of the biggest names ever.
This is it. You know, I mean. People forget this, and people are so busy erasing history now that they forget that they don't care because it's not convenient to remember these things. But you know, we've had diversity in casting for a long, long time. You know, ever since the civil rights and things like that. Especially, I mean, can we just fucking? I mean, when is it ever going to be the inherent qualities of a person, the inherent things you cannot change, whether you're gay, black, whatever.
Immutable characteristics.
It's not a character. It's the least interesting thing about you.
Yes,
it's what's inside of you that matters. And I'm sorry, you know, if all you can do is focus on these external qualities rather than the character, which is what Martin Luther King talked about, wasn't it? The content of the character.
Content of the character.
And that's what we should be focusing on. But everyone's so fucking, I don't think. And it's like, oh, God, it's so backwards. I can't fucking believe it. And Black 7, back in 1977, 78 to 80, 81, wherever it's
about that.
You know, not a fucking issue. You know, with Jenna the Space Pirate, fucking piloting the Liberator. We had Dana... weapons expert, you know, daughter of a weapons scientist, you know, like not even I mean, that was progressive. That's proper progressive. It wasn't even fucking mentioned, not once. It's nothing to do with it.
It shouldn't be.
And it shouldn't be.
It's so good. Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I remember how I said I was really, I'm not exaggerating this. I was really looking forward to be able to talk Blake 7 with somebody because, I didn't have anyone else to talk it that much on the show. Well, a couple of months back, absolutely. A couple of months back, I ran across a podcast with a couple of women doing about Blake 7. I started listening to it a little bit, and I even, exchanged some pleasantries with them on Twitter. And so about having, maybe getting to talk Blake 7 with them. They seem to know what they were talking about. It didn't make it too far into one of their first podcasts when they actually have a segment. They break down episodes, which I thought that's cool. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do that about comics and other things. Well, they have almost a segment, a whole gigantic segment that they devote. I think it's two ladies from Australia to how politically incorrect and anti-SJW each episode is, and all the offensive and problematic shit in the episode. I wanted to fucking throw up. I'm like, Jesus H. Christ. All the sex
everything has to be posted.
Yeah,
everything has to go through a postmodern lens. It's
like, my God.
I mean, Black 7, for all its flaws and for all the, the fact it was from a period of time when things were settling down a bit, post-war, post-colonial, post-civil rights. It's BBC, always been very sort of leftist in their bias anyway. But, this was a progressive show. Yes, it had 2 male leads. Oh, my God. That's so terrible.
How problematic.
But they were the best people for the roles. They were cast on their talent. And the stories were not about race, but they were about class. Class is a fixation in this country.
Very true.
And power struggles. And it is of the leftist kind of bent.
Yes, it is.
No denying that. But it's more nuanced and more layered than just saying capitalism bad. You know, I mean, it's beyond that at this stage. You know, I think Avon is a capitalist, and it's the most engaging character in the show. You know, you've got the leader, the commander, who becomes the president of the galaxy, basically. In effect, you know,
a woman
is a woman.
Imagine that.
And I'm sure if she was alive today, you know, she would probably very much be on their sort of side. You know, very, very progressive.
Probably.
I think.
I would say,
but
not insane lefty, not insane though.
I think a very liberal. I mean, she was very, very alternative. I think she was like into witch stuff. You know, she was a bit of a crazy liberal, you know, but like in a fun way. You know, she was
a nice person, a classical liberal,
classy lady. But she was very, I think, very sexual, you know, and very very open and very the least coy person on the planet. So I think she was a unique. This is the thing they don't get. Individuality is seen as a curse to them. If you're not part of a group, they'll put you in one because they can't handle individuals because you fall outside of the box. So they have to keep trying to put you in whatever box they can fit you in, and if that doesn't fit, they'll invent a new one for you. And it's so blinkered and depressing. Frankly,
you know, these people, the modern day SJWs in particular, they're not about tolerance. They're about forced acceptance. It's not enough. Absolutely. For example, if you have a laissez-faire attitude, like, oh yeah, well, hey, you do you, pal, do whatever, as the kids say. You do your thing, I'll do mine. We don't tell each other what to do, and we're fine. That's not good enough. You got to come over here. You got to see everything I do. I got to put it into your face. And if you don't accept it all, and then run around telling everyone how much you accept it, you're an evil monster. How about if it's just like
silence is violence. Silence you can't wait. You say anything is violence. Words are violence. Silence is violence. What the fuck? I mean, how can you have any conversation?
It's impossible. It can't be violent. You ask. Punch in the face.
Oh, go away. Yeah, right. I got called homophobic once, and then it was evident that, well, that's just not going to work in reality. So then I got called a racist. So you only called me a racist because you knew you couldn't call me a homophobe. So you just went to the next box. You know, it's just like pick a box.
God.
Oh, it's just they look for it. Microaggressions. It's brainwashing. What happened was with the left. I've always been from the left. I voted Labour all my life until recently, due to the terrible anti-Semitism that I was seeing and the crazy identity politics, which is an embarrassment. And I couldn't recognize it anymore. It used to be about the disproportionate wealth, you know, how capitalism would favor the rich. Money makes money, the poor get poorer, the rich get richer, class system, caste struggle. It's always about that. Then postmodernists infected it. So I mean, you had the sort of the more militant Marxist, and I was always more your classic liberal minded person.
Yes, very
open-minded. Too open-minded at times. I've become a little less open-minded as things have progressed because it's become evident it's insane. That I sort of shifted to a sort of, because I don't believe in left-right politics anymore. I think we live in a three-dimensional reality. Human beings are complex. Politics are three-dimensional. Okay, yes. You've got ups and downs. You've got left and rights. You've got something over there and over there, and it's so much more complicated. And it's like these postmodernists have now come in and made everything subjective. And they've made everything about race, everything about gender, queer theory, critical theory, all of these things, post-colonial theory, and they've infected the left. So you've got the weird marriage of two very different ideologies. One is Marxism, and one is postmodernism, and they are diametrically opposed in their own three-dimensional values. Okay, they're on the left, but they're different aspects. But you know, what they do share is authoritarianism,
Big
tyranny
So
of
true.
thought,
So
and
true.
but the postmodern is all about race, gender, and all the rest of it, and queer theory and all this other bullshit, crazy French philosophy stuff from the 60s. And you've got the Marxists who are the militant, aggressive ones. So what I see happening in the future is, if they ever succeed in any way, God help us, they will turn on each other like nothing else. The postmodernists will be up against the wall and shot by these Marxists. I'll tell you, no kidding. That's exactly what they'll do. History teaches us this. So this is the kind of this dystopian world, going back to Blake 7, that they find themselves in. This is the world that the galaxy, you know. I mean, I don't think they'd ever manage to get into space if they ever took over, because science is racist. No. So,
but that's why they probably took over later.
Yeah. That's probably why the Federation collapsed.
That's why the Federation Delta Shield got pushed over on its side when they finally took over, like in Conquest of the Planet.
That's the patriarchy. Yeah.
They got up there and just
it's a patriarchal symbol because it's erect, so you have to put it on its side. So
absolutely, there you go.
Right? Figure it out.
Yeah, and I know we got political in a sense, but I don't care. I'm fine with that. But because Blake 7 does kind of tie into that, because it is Orwellian. We are right now living in an Orwellian nightmare.
Well, as I said before, it's a mix. This is why I think it's relevant. Yes. I noticed Sky now, Sky TV in this country has released the first episode. I don't know if they released the whole thing yet. I haven't seen it, but they've released episode 1 of A Brave New World.
I heard about that.
It's a new remake. Yeah, I've seen the original 1980 BBC version. It's a must-watch episode.
Yes.
And again, if you look at A Brave New World and you see that as postmodernist, okay, everything's very loose. It's sort of take the soma and, you know, control the mind and control the language. It's just, you know, it's very 1984, but it's also not. But it's very overtly liberal. Uber liberal. So it's like the postmodernist, subjectivist, pleasure seeking, whatever, control people with, you know, this weird caste system. So you've got like people are graded by these traits. So they're all engineered to be superior or sub-superior. Even someone that goes down in grades A to whatever, alpha to omega or something. I can't remember how it ends, what the lowest grade is, but it is kind of how the postmodernists restructuring, reconstructing and deconstructing people and putting them into different boxes. You see, it's very postmodernist. And then you've got 1984, which is very tyrannical, you know, control the language, control the past, control the future, control the present. And it's everything you do is observed and watched. And that's kind of what we've had for the last X amount of years through this technocracy. But now we're seeing this introduction of this sort of more brave new world overlapping on top of it. Now, they're both very different views of the future, both written as handbooks, by the way. They were both Fabians, members of the Fabian Society, Huxley and Orwell.
Yes.
They were in on what was going to happen. They were in on the plan. Okay, a lot of people say, "Oh, isn't it amazing how they sort of just happened to predict what was going?" No, they were in on it. They were in on it. This is what they do. They always publish what they're intending to do. They publish it in any way they can, whether it's in fiction, movies, TV shows, books, manifestos, you name it. They publish everything they're doing. So they said, "Well, we told you." We told you we're doing. So this is where we're at. So if you look at Blake 7 is fundamentally A Brave New World and Orwell together, which is what we have today, interestingly enough. So that really does kind of tie in, because I think you can kind of see, I mean, God forbid they ever go into space. I don't think they've ever managed to under that system, but it kind of takes the idea of that kind of reality. And God knows, if that's the future, wouldn't you want to join Blake's team? Yeah, totally. Out of here. See you later.
Or you could be, if you're Avon, you just steal the Liberator. You leave him on Citizen's Alpha. You and Jenna steal the Liberator. You got all that money for some reason they never explained why is in the cargo, and you just go live the life. You say, you know what? Screw the universe. I can go buy a planet, and I got the Liberator. No one can do anything to me. Poor old Blake can stay down there with those prisoners and Brian Blessed, and it'll be a power struggle between the two of those guys. And Brian Blessed, it'll be a shouting match between.
Hell out of that! Oh God, yo!
And if it's a shouting match, if it's a shouting match, my money's on Brian, buddy.
Oh yeah, he doesn't need a megaphone. That guy.
Yeah, I love him, man. He was fantastic. But
he's a beautiful man.
And these characters, again, the show's so great because, and a lot of what we talked about, even if we did straight a little bit, we still stayed inside of the framework of Blake 7 because it is about that. They're fighting a dictatorship, as Avon even commented. Yeah, big time. Well, Avon, what does he commentate when he was commentating on it in the in Aftermath when he tells Dana's father, he says, yes, it is difficult to sustain a military dictatorship when you've lost most of the military, and that's why the Federation was in ruins and they were trying to get it back together. But before that happens, all that time leading up to Star One, the Federation's pretty solid. They did not know about this alien invasion coming. And they were overthrown and they were betrayed by Travis. Not giving a lot of spoiler stuff away, and the show is old, by the way. But they were called,
What's it by now?
Yes, and I love all of the gray area. One of the things, again, remember I was talking earlier about how they write characters, smaller characters, or when I mean smaller, characters lesser. There's an episode, Trial, where Travis was on trial. One of his troopers. And a buddy of mine used to talk about this a lot when I did talk about Blake 7 a lot with him. He said, if you ever notice, these aren't I love Star Wars, but these aren't the stormtroopers from Star Wars who have no personality, no soul. I mean, they're just there to get shot at and miss people with their rifles.
Pew, pew.
Yes, exactly. Now, at first it looked like that, but there were a couple of episodes where these guys would take up their helmets. They were humans. And they would.
There's a great one with Villa, isn't there? Villa, he's talking, he's in with them, and I don't know who he is.
Exactly. And they weren't. Not only were they that, they weren't all space Nazis either. There were times when they were. Well, how do you put it?
Regular guys.
They were regular guys. They were just kind of pawns, if you will. They weren't super political, but they just thought, they're just doing a job.
Like Mongo said in the Blazing Saddles, just pawn in life.
Some of them are working stiffs. They're not. Yeah. They're not all like Servalan, or any of the other the High Council or all the fat cats that are running everything at all. They're not like that. They're people.
It's reminiscent of the First World War when you had when you had Christmas and they started playing football in the middle of no man's land. Before the next day when they went back to killing each other. But there was one moment, that stands as testament to humanity, that no matter what your ideological beliefs are or who's in control, and if you don't comply, you're going to get killed, basically. And they showed that there is no difference between us. Whatever your political beliefs or whatever side you're on, whether you place there or you go there willingly, we are fundamentally still complex human beings, all with our own lives, all with our own thoughts, all with our own, energy, or like our own being. And it's forgotten about when people are put into boxes and categories and labeled, and you're part of this group or you're part of that group. All humanity is removed. And when you remove someone's humanity, you deperson that person. Fundamentally, all you've got left is an easy target. You've made them so that they're not human in your mind, and that is not a good mindset, because that always leads to mass graves. No matter which way you look at it, it always leads the same. It always ends the same way. The logical conclusion of any of this that's going on today is mass graves, and we have to stop that.
Absolutely. We have an interesting question from our friend Eastlyn Burkholder, who says, "My question: if Blake wins." Well, I'm going to put this before what happened with Star One, so in that context. If Blake wins, let's say he wins before that, or say there's no alien invasion. If Blake wins, that's how I'm helping. I'm adding to your question. Sorry if I messed it up there. Would he make a worse government for the population? Well, maybe yes, is what Burkholder said. I'm going to say no, I'm gonna say that he is too altruistic and too he certainly he hates the Federation so much that he would make it better. It doesn't mean that it would be perfect or any problems, but if he is the kind of guy, Blake has his faults, but he is not totalitarian in the sense that he wouldn't be for drugging populations and controlling people. He said not until free men can think and speak is what he said. I believe he would be honest to that. Would he be able to?
I don't think he would make a government.
Would he be able to pull it off? Is the question.
He would liberate Earth and all its colonies.
Yes.
But then he would say it's up to you.
Fair enough.
Make it work. I think that's what he would do. I don't think.
But it would be better than the Federation, though. I think it would be better than the Federation. His question basically would it be better or whatever. I think it would not. Yeah, I think
nothing worse than the Federation. The Federation is the distillation of the worst of ideas that you can possibly imagine. Pretty much what we're seeing today. It's a distillation of that, and I think that he is the antithesis to that. Yes, he's a fanatic, but I think that he's a fanatic with a conscience. That he would know that power would absolutely corrupt him. I don't think he would ever take on the mantle of any form of power himself. I think he's that grounded enough, and he's been through so much that he knows what his goal is. He knows what he needs to do. Fundamentally, ultimately, is to bring it all down, but then he has to believe in humanity to work itself out for itself. He's not going to hang around to dictate what they should or should not do, or set up any systems. He'd be like, okay, I've done my bit, get on with it, I'm out of here. I think that's pretty much.
Yeah, I agree with you. It would be sort of like, and I'm drawing the blank on the founder that said it. I don't know if it was Thomas Jefferson or whether it was Benjamin Franklin or John Adams, but basically what they said when they set up the founding of the United States was, we are giving you a representative republic if you can keep it. They didn't, they said that's what you are, because we're not a democracy. We are a representative republic, for better word. And he said, we're giving you, and he says, if you can keep it. And that's the thing, because we're having a lot of trouble keeping it. And there are a lot of people that don't want it. I'm a big fan of it myself, but a lot of people are not. I'm a constitutionalist at heart. But point being is, I'm not, we're not trying to incite a discussion on it. I'm simply saying Blake would probably be like that to me. He would be like, we're going to set up as much freedom as we can. We're going to try to liberate as much as we can. Can you keep it? Can you hang on to it? That would be the question. But that isn't that every government ever?
Exactly what I was saying. It's. I mean, if you look at Britain and America, okay. I mean, it's quite bizarre, isn't it? Because we've fundamentally got the same written constitution. Did you know this? We actually have the same written constitution, pretty much the same written constitution. Yes. We actually have a Bill of Rights, and not a lot of people know that. You put yours on every school classroom wall or in every public building, or at least used to.
So far.
In this country, it's hidden away in a fucking library somewhere, in a government building, and it's only sort of rolled out every 100 years or something.
Oh, really? Wow.
It was from 1667, 68. It was during the restitution of the monarchy, of the Protestant monarchy through William of Orange, where he accepted the crown under the proviso that he would serve the people, that he would serve the law being the people. And this is still in effect. It's been superseded by a lot of other laws and acts of parliament. But again, we have to look at really if these things actually do supersede it, or whether or not these things are not proper law, because the Bill of Rights should supersede all other law. It's the common law. It's where common law comes from. So not only do we have the Magna Carta, in which your wonderful constitution is based on, but we also have the Bill of Rights, which is also what your Bill of Rights are based on. But we've kind of hidden that, and you guys took it seriously and understood it and understood what it meant. But we being British, kind of.
Now we're all buddies now. That's the important thing. We're all friends now.
The monarchy should be under the law. The law is the law which is decided by our representatives as who represent us, the people. So that's pretty much the same thing, but it's amazing how diverged our two systems are, but they're fundamentally based on the same documents. It's really interesting. I find it fascinating. I find American politics fascinating. I really do. I've been following a lot of what's going on, and I really, really do hope you guys manage to fight and keep your Constitution and your Bill of Rights in place, because it's a wonderful, wonderful system. It's obviously so open to abuse and has been for so long. But you got to fight for it. You got to defend it. And I wish to God that our side would do the same. I mean, if you look at Brexit. If you look at Brexit, that was passed in the 1970s, where it superseded power to a foreign power, and under our Bill of Rights, that should not have happened, because the Queen made a declaration, her oath to the people, that she would serve and protect the law of this land, and the law of this land is what our representatives have made. But that's still bound to the Bill of Rights, which says that we should not give away sovereignty to a foreign pope, nation, or whatever. You know, it's there. We did, and she didn't take a new oath, and she didn't stop it. So yeah, it's very contentious. Not a lot of people know about it. But yeah, it's a grey area that a lot of people tend to either brush off or pretend is irrelevant, or it's superseded now, so it's not really a proper written Bill of Rights. Bullshit.
So basically, Blake would. By the way, our friend, my good friend RR, good to see you there, sir. Thank you for popping in there. Said that it confirmed it was Benjamin Franklin. Thank you. Blake would be Benjamin Franklin about that. Again, you know, with their all the problems they face, who knows? But with the alien invasion, things became wide open. And there's one of the things about Blake 7 that the Star One really threw them a curveball, where it's fascinating. Blake actually had to make a decision with Star One, like, well, you know what? We can't blow it up now. I mean, we got to protect our own galaxy from an invader. From Andromeda,
and we never get to see. This is what I loved about it as well. We never get to see these aliens. We don't know who they are.
Sort of,
we never find out who they are. They're this sort of external threat, this kind of existential threat to everybody. So you find these weird alliances and these strange times where the Federation is trying to desperately to cling on to what power it's got. Servalan's taken over. I think she pretends to be dead or something, and it's all kind of
later, yes,
smoke and mirrors. Yeah, it's really strange. It's a really strange situation. Well, but everything's a chaos, and I love that they get put in this situation that nobody on either side had factored in at all. It's just this external threat that comes in and causes mass shit all across the galaxy.
Well, incidentally, it calls into line one of the greatest Avon lines ever. I mean, we'd be here for 50 hours doing Avon lines, but I can't help it. You did make me think of one where you talk about the Andromedans when he breaks into the base Star One for the first time, and he runs into the woman who is still human. They've all taken a human form, and he gets attacked by one, and he blasts one, and then they shed their human form, and they're just like this, you know, puddle of gelatinous mass, this blobby thing. And the woman says, "What are they?" And Avon's this writing and this he says, "Unfriendly," which is fortunate, really. They'd be difficult to love.
Oh, he's so understated.
Difficult to love. I mean, how prejudiced? Who cares? That was not very Star Trek of him.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God.
I love him.
He's pure gold. No one can do Avon ever. It's like that's Paul Darrow. 100%.
No, it is Paul Darrow. Right before that scene where he finds Travis about to break in, he says, basically Travis tells him, "Put the gun, Avon. It's 2. Stop it now. Be polite, and I may let you live." He goes, "Be informative, and I may let you die. You'll want that if I shot off an arm or a leg or two." Oh, he's the best. And one more. I
So
got to do one more from Star One. I got to
Go
do one
for
more.
it.
I'm sorry. When Avon finally does shoot Travis and he falls down the Emperor's well thingy, which he did first before the Emperor did. He goes, and Blake, is he dead? Is he dead, Avon, is what he says. And then he shoots at Travis. He falls down. He is now. Just simple, but brilliant.
He's so calculated.
And you touched on it.
Everything's measured, and
Oh,
it's almost as if his mind is working so fast that the thing he's going to say next is already formulated before the event happens. It's that
Yeah.
material. Amazing to watch.
the only time
Amazing to watch.
you touched on earlier, the only time he was ever speechless is something you kind of touched on earlier, that it does speak about the character at the end of his feelings for Blake, when at the end of Star One, when Blake has to go back to the medical unit because he's messed up, and Avon tells him, "Why can't you bring yourself to trust me just this once?" And he goes, "All right, I'll go back to the medical unit." He turns around and says, "Avon, for what it is worth, I have always trusted you from the very beginning." For once, Avon has nothing to say, but the look on his face says it all. No matter what he does before or after that, you know that he cares about Blake. And he will never admit, he would die before he would admit it.
Well, it becomes his obsession to find him.
Yes.
Towards the
Why
end.
would you want to find him?
He's obsessed with finding. He needs to find him. It becomes. It's such a turnaround, I mean, can't go into too much spoiler territory, but at the end, and he does find him, and there's that moment where he's not sure where Blake's mind is anymore, and he's like, "Have you betrayed me?" And it's just like, "Oh, fuck." And it's so intense, and it's like, oh my god! And then obviously, but it's
cool.
It's just so oh my god! This is just like, how could this have happened? It's like if they just caught each other sooner or something, it would all have been completely different. And it's just gutting. It's heartbreaking.
That episode,
it's probably, that the final episode of Blade 7, without too many spoilers, is the most heart-wrenching. It's probably one of the most famous, most divisive, well-loved, well-hated endings of any TV show ever. It really is.
It's a thing of beauty to me. To me, first of all, it's brilliantly directed.
Pure Shakespeare. Again.
I get chills thinking about that scene, yeah.
Yeah, it is Shakespeare. And you're just left going, I mean, even because I knew what happened at the end, but I watched it, and even then, you're just never prepared for it, and you just left it going, no, it can't end like that. But it's intense. It's intense. And the great thing about Blake 7, that is very different to oh, there he is. our great leader, Avon. The great thing about Blake 7 that was the antithesis to Star Wars and Doctor Who was the lack of the bug-eyed monsters. The monster of the week thing wasn't really a thing. It was really more about humans and their interactions with each other and authority versus liberty. And it's such a great thing because it doesn't rely on those tropes. I think as well, they were quite consciously aware that they didn't really want to have the bug-eyed monster thing in there. They wanted it to be taken very seriously, and very serious actors taking on these roles. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Blake wanted to not be typecast. The actor, brain again. Honestly, it's like I'm dyslexic, so I always forget. I forget friends I've known for 10 years or so. I forget their names at parties.
I got you.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, even though it was in Star Maidens, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Okay. Yeah, you have to watch. I think the first episode is on YouTube, but it's oh dear me, hold on. It's got Gareth Thomas. It's got Gareth Thomas in Star Maidens.
I've never seen that. I don't think I've heard of that.
It's a science fiction show. I think it was British. I'm pretty sure it was British. But it's where it's set in a universe where it's a matriarchy, and the men are seeking their liberation. You have to watch it.
Nice.
You've got these scantily clad feminists in charge, and these guys are sort of treated like just like they're just there for breeding, basically, and for serving them. And they make a bid for freedom. I think they land on Earth. I've only ever seen that one episode, but it's what
nice.
It's what Gareth Thomas was doing before he did Blake 7, and I can see why I didn't want to get typecast after doing another science fiction show. But
he later he later embraced the show, and Tom Baker.
To him it was a job. To him, it was a job. To Paul Darrow, it was, I think, a lot more than that. I think he really loved it. He loved the attention. He loved being this character. I mean, he wrote
a book.
Books.
I read his first book. I have it, Avon, A Terrible Aspect. And, of course, he wrote some other ones not too long ago.
Well, he wrote the sequel to... Because, I mean, the way it ended, the season 4... It was not meant to, I think originally it was not meant to be the end. They were planning another series. God knows how they were going to get out of that one. So maybe they weren't,
Well,
who knows?
There was a book called Afterlife that came out a little
That's right.
after the series by Tony Atwood, which is pretty good. I mean, I can buy into it. It's pretty good. Avon is, oh man, is he? I don't know. I think some people kind of misinterpret the character and make him a little extreme when they write their fan fiction or their fictionalized novels about it. But which is fine. I think.
Well, he's in Big Finish. He lays it on thick. I think because he hadn't played the role for such a long time, but it sort of verges a bit on the sort of pantomime, and he's sort of, I'm speaking like I'm always planning to kill you, and his voice is a lot deeper. He's a lot slower.
When they get older,
and I'm going to probably stab you in the back. So he's got this kind of very. So he's a bit more of a sort of dastardly and Muttley kind of caricature of Avon, but I think he's just enjoying himself. And obviously, he had a really horrible end to his last. I mean, the last few years of his life were pretty horrific. He lost both of his legs through, I think it was a cyst, wasn't it, a cancer or something in his leg. So he lost both his legs, and he died not many years after. I think his last TV appearance was on Pointless, a TV quiz show, and he came second.
It's so sad. We've lost.
It is. It's terrible. It's so terrible. And when you hear Jacqueline Pierce in the Big Finish orders, you can tell she smoked a fucking lot of cigarettes because her voice is so deep and gravelly at this point. And,
their voices are all. Yeah, you have to make allowance when you listen to those. You have to put that to the side. You've probably heard a lot more than I have, but I have a few of them. It's still them. Their voices, you got to kind of make allowances for that, and they're taking place in between episodes, unchronicled adventures, if you will. So you're going, okay, but you know what? I love these people, and at least they're not recasting and doing things that would annoy me. So
they recast Dana because
they did. Sorry, that's true.
Yeah, because. God, the actress's name again. I'm so bad with names. Dana? Josette
Simon.
Josette Simon. She didn't want to be associated with it. I mean, I think she still did the circuit. Yeah, I just think she was like, I've moved on, and I think she's still acting. But she hasn't. She's aged beautifully. She's like, cracked them back. She's like stunning. Wow. She didn't want to do it, so they cast her with another actress. Crikey, all right, I'm really painting myself into a corner here.
That's okay.
Big Finish, bear with. Because I was reviewing her, and she was really, really good. She actually took the role. It was actually the fact that the actress who took over playing Dana actually watched Blake 7 as a kid and identified with Dana when she was a kid, and she used to watch it with her brothers. So she absolutely loved that show. So it went to a fan. So that was really good, and that was very obvious and very evident in her portrayal. Damn it, can I find her name?
So she.
Gosh.
Let's see. The ones I heard, I only got because I want to get them all. The ones I heard originally were ones that took place before Dana had showed up. There were ones with Blake, in them. So I haven't heard any of the ones lately with the ones where
Yasmin Bannerman. Yasmin Bannerman is her name.
Okay.
So if I mean, she does like the voice of Dana, but she does it in her own way. But it's not jarring at all, and she's got it. She got it down.
Excellent.
So yeah. So she's a welcome addition. She fits in perfectly and seamlessly, I think, with the rest of the cast.
Yeah. It's just when I say recasting in this case, as you probably know, a few years ago they did a remake, and it was an audio drama, but a remake with recasting all new people and redoing the first.
Yeah, I saw it. I never heard it, but yeah.
Well, as soon as I saw it, I said, "Screw that crap." No offense to anybody.
The thing is, what it lacks in The Big Fish is writing. I mean, it's got some great writing. It's got some great stories, but the dialogue isn't as snappy. Avon isn't as bright and sort of constantly on the go. He's a bit more laconic and sort of scheming away, and it's a bit of a characterization. And I don't know if that's him or if it's the way it's written, but it's not quite the same old Avon. I think that would be a given anyway, due to the age of the actors at the time, but also because the writing isn't the same standard. It's still good. It's still not as Blake 7 as it could have been.
Oh, of course. It's still nice. It's very nice that they got a chance to go back and do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like it's a kind of more for a modern era, or people who remember Blake 7, people who still love Blake 7. Introducing it to a new audience, maybe. But yeah, it's good in its own right, and it's sad that it will never continue as it could.
No,
because they're not going to recast. Well, I think what they're planning to do, because I did an interview with the producer of the Blake 7 Big Finish, with Dan from the Space Book. So I was someone was off, so I had to step in and co-host that one, and it was very interesting. And he said that they had plans to, because they have more to do. They haven't totally decide what they want to do, but they've got a plan. So they're going to sort of run off in the same universe. So you're going to have like the remaining cast pop up here and there, and new characters come along and sort of take it further to the next stage, but obviously honoring what's gone before. So,
okay,
yeah,
that'll work.
Yeah, they said that when Paul Darrow died, they were in the middle of, I mean, they were doing a series of these Blake 7 Big Finish audios, and he passed away. Yeah. And obviously they had to finish the rest of that season, so they had to sort of work around that. And they said it was obviously they took some time to deal with that, and they decided to proceed with it, and they obviously did that with a lot of care and respect, and I think understandably, but then obviously that it was put on hiatus until they could work out what to do. But that seems to be where they're going with it, so it will continue. So that's something for the Blake 7 fans out there to latch on to.
Because you know what, Blake 7 fans don't get much. We don't get what Trek or Star Wars or other fans get. We don't even get action figures, for God's sake. Which I would love. I'd get them. I'd have those, man.
Hell yeah! I mean, it's a sad thing because it's such a underrated. I mean, it's criminally underrated. It's so well loved by those who are the fans of the series and have been supporting it longer than. I mean, I guess I watched it as a kid and I came back into it very late. But these people have kept the name of it alive for so long. That these people are wonderful. There was recently an anniversary convention online because of the COVID thing. So they did a online interviews with some of the cast and writers and things, which was great. It went on the whole day, so I managed to catch half of it.
Nice. Damn.
Yeah, it's still on YouTube there somewhere. I think if you look up Sigma, Alpha Sigma. Yeah, Alpha Sigma.
Nice. But yeah, I would love to meet the remainders of them at least. Like I said, David Jackson was really cool. I remember when I met him. It was in it was in Atlanta, I think. He asked me where I was from, and I said Louisiana, and he started said that's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite songs. I started thinking of him. Oh yeah, that one, Louisiana. That one. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a song. It is so cool. Really nice guy though, and I was like, man, and then it wasn't really all that long after that he passed, unfortunately. But
yeah.
So damn shame. Much like Star Trek, the original series, most of the crew is going. So,
yeah, it's heartbreaking because you grew up with these people that are your heroes, and you think they're going to live forever. Well, they will live forever. Let's be honest. But when you see them sort of one by one, increasingly more so. I am still terrified of losing Tom. Tom, you're forbidden from passing ever. God forbid. God, touch wood.
I got 3, dude.
I can't think of it too long because it's just so horrible a prospect. And it's I
have 4 like that. As far as celebrities, you don't know them, of course, but they mean so much to you. Again, it's not like it may not be like your family member, but when it happens, you may not do much, but it's gonna break your heart from a geek love standpoint. 2 of them are already gone. And that one of them is Paul Darrow for me. Another one is Adam West. Adam West is my geek life. I mean, that's where all my geeking starts with the old Batman TV show with Adam West. I met him a few times. At least I got to meet him. The other 2, and they're old too. I'm gonna die saying Shatner and Tom Baker.
Yeah.
The biggest one was Jack Kirby, of course, but that's a comics thing. But I'm just talking about media stuff. And at least I got to meet him twice, the greatest king of comics. And I got to meet that, so at least I got to meet him. There are other stars and people have done other things that I love, but as far as the ones that I know,
David Bowie as well. Like when David Bowie passed away, I didn't leave the house for a week. I was distraught. I was lucky enough to see him in concert, so at least I had that. But I never met him.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like a friend or a family member, but still, it is in a way. And yes, it's a stranger, but they've done things that you've loved, even if you didn't get to meet them. And if you got to meet them, even better. But
if they're a good artist, of any import at all, their job is to show their soul, really. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're giving away themselves. It's nobody else, it's them. So they are like a friend because they've made it their business to make you their friend. You support their work because it connects with you. And that's something that a friend would do.
Adam West treated me like a friend.
And we pay those people.
Adam West, my hero, Adam West. First time I met him, he was in costume. This was a long time. Was young.
Oh, brilliant!
He and Burt Ward, and I'm a kid. I'm like 20, 21, whatever. And he starts talking to me, and I had him say my favorite line from the Batman movies from '66. He did. I talked to him about comics. He was so cool, and Burt Ward started arguing with me about comic trivia, and Adam West breaks and goes, "These guys know, pal. Believe me, you shouldn't argue with them." Whoa, he had that laugh. I meet him 20 years later, 15 years later. I run into him again, and I'm wearing a Batman shirt, and he just bumps in. "Oh, excuse me, there, Sir Bat. How you doing?" I'm like, Adam West called me Sir Bat. I'm not kidding. 5 years later, at a con, I passed by him again. And he goes, "Hi, how you doing there, Sir Bat?" There's no way he knows me. What is going on here?
It's lovely when you get the personal touch, isn't it?
When he passed, I'm telling you, man, like you're talking about with David Bowie. And I even hate to say it, but Tom Baker and Shatner, those are the ones that are going to just kill me.
Oh, God. I don't.
They're not allowed to die.
It doesn't bear thinking about.
Look, Tom.
A universe without Tom Baker scarcely bears thinking.
Great master quote from the 5 Doctors. Love it.
Yeah.
Proving that the master loved the Doctor.
Oh yeah, I think there's always so much more to those two, isn't there? Not anymore.
Yes, yeah, especially Anthony
They're
Ainley.
all destroyed.
And there's a story. My two friends that now that I'm talking myself into wanting to murder them, that got to meet Avon. And remember, they also got to go meet John Pertwee when I was not able to. They went to a con without me in Atlanta. I don't know if you knew this. You probably do know it. It's common knowledge. Patrick Troughton died at a con in Georgia,
In
not
the
Atlanta.
hotel, yeah.
Well, they were at this con that Friday. They saw him walking around, and they were going to go bother him like some other people were doing. I said, "We'll get him tomorrow. We'll get us signed autographs tomorrow." There was no tomorrow, and Anthony Ainley, I think, made an announcement to everyone about it. The great Anthony Ainley. But my friends got to meet him. Those bastards. I missed out.
You were meant to come to my school, actually. That's another thing, because as I said before, in my Doctor Who club at school, we had all these actors and writers and whatnot visit us, and Anthony Ainley was booked in to come and see us, and unfortunately he couldn't because he was ill, so it got cancelled and never got rebooked. So yeah, I was gutted because I used to love the Master as a kid, and Anthony Ainley was my master, when I was growing up. Obviously, as an older
Delgado, I love Delgado
more. Delgado is the
Genius.
de facto master. Yeah,
I
always loved Anthony.
Yeah, Ainley still wanted, but yeah, I'm with you.
He was my master growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. Me too. Actually, when I went back, got to see the Delgado. My favorite, but I love them both. That's why I don't like any. I like new. I'm not someone who trashes new. I do like it. The John Sim Master was not playing the Master. He was playing the Joker, and just
yeah, I hated his Master. I liked him in Well Enough in Time, but his Master was like Tony Blair on crack.
Yeah, I was like, what is wrong with this? I don't like the jokey crowd. The Master wasn't the Joker. He wasn't. I mean, what is this? Try to be Heath Ledger's Joker or some shit?
The Master fundamentally is a Svengali figure. He's supposed to be a sort of mystical, scientific genius, cool as fucking ice.
Moriarty.
Moriarty, basically. But the beard thing was. I think that should have been prevalent.
Sim should have had a beard.
That's why I liked him in Modern Enough Time. He was more master-like in that.
Oh, right. Yeah. I haven't seen it.
But I didn't like his. I mean, to a lot of people, that's their first Master.
Yeah, I like joking around and crap.
Yeah, it was too much. It was too much. It was too manic, and that's why I'm not so keen on the new one either. I mean, I'm not keen on this new era at all. But the new one is just so hammy and so over the top. I mean, he makes Eric Roberts look understated.
It's because he saw John Sim. He thinks that's the way you do it.
Yeah, and it's just like, not this again. I mean, after Missy, I liked Missy. A lot of people liked her, but thought she should be the Rani or.
That's what I think.
Be a separate character. Yeah, I can understand that, and again, it plays into this whole changing the gender thing. But I think it's something the Master would have done. He's always the master of disguise.
Yes, I agree with that.
And when you saw Peter Capaldi's face, when Missy says, "Couldn't really call myself the Master," it's like, you twisted fuck.
Yes, I into it with the Master. Because
I totally bought that.
On anyway.
Yeah, but then they made the trope, that all Time Lords can now do this, and it's just like, no, this was all the setup to test the water. If they had made Michelle Gomez the Doctor, she came out the TARDIS and said, "Hello, I'm Doctor Who." I thought, okay, I can see that. But no, they went with a blank slate who neither acts like a woman nor a bloke. I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
Lord,
and now you get people say it's a trans doctor. Basically, that's what they're trying to say. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake!
How about that lovely?
Why does everything have to boil down to these? The Doctor is fundamentally a male role. Don't care. I mean, I was open to the idea. Didn't work. Don't think it can work now. It's ruined. And yeah, the Doctor's always been a grumpy white bastard male. Sorry, it's the way it is.
And there are plenty of women who like
why is that bad? Why is it so? If you love Doctor Who so much, why do you want to change it so much?
Women like that way. How can you tell me women said this is bullshit? He's a man. They like what? Turns out, I know it's controversial to say, but women like a male character too. They like to watch men. Sorry.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
This is why this season hasn't taken off, because the last 2 seasons haven't taken off. It's why it's hemorrhaging his audience, just because people have just gone, nah, it's not Doctor Who. It's got the name, it's got the theme tune, sort of. It's not Doctor Who. Especially the first season, there was no familiar things other than the TARDIS, and even the internal console room was just horrible. So they totally alienated their audience. They garnered this fundamentalist new audience who only watch it because it's woke.
If
but
they even watch it. Even they don't watch it.
They're probably looking at their phone half the fucking time.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They just want it woke.
Yeah,
that's all they give a shit about.
That's it. That's all about. I mean, God forbid if they brought Blake Seven back now.
Oh my God! I'd take a hostage. I swear to God. I'm a terrorist.
I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut a motherfucker up in here. You guys have a remake. I'll come after you.
Clobberin times.
Don't make it's clobbering time for real. Don't make me turn this car around, baby. If you touch Blake Seven, you're dead.
No, that would be a fucking travesty. Oh my God.
Travesty. I'm sorry.
I was saying it and I was thinking, no pun.
You punter. That was a good one. Oh my God. By the way, we were talking earlier about my friend Jobber said his childhood would be destroyed when Peter Cullen, the guy Optimus Prime, and Frank Welker, the voices. Yeah, I mean, look, everyone has someone like that, especially Geek Connected. That if they,
well, I think your childhood slowly. I mean, you got your memories of your child, but you see it physically disintegrating around you, and and then once all those wonderful people have gone, it's kind of like being orphaned, isn't it? It's like you're kind of it's all gone. It's gone. And it's like, it's never coming back. All you got is your memories and your media. But you're in this whole other world where all these other people are famous. And you're thinking, Christ, how? Why? These people were amazing. And this lot suck. And it's like, I've entered a horrible new world and I don't like it.
Dude, I'm a comic book fanatic.
Getting old.
All the great comic book people, almost all of them, about probably 90% of all the ones that I love, all the greats from Golden, Silver, Bronze Age history, almost all of them are dead. Even if you don't read comics, you know.
What a legacy that's left. The state of DC, the state. I mean, I haven't bought comic books since the 90s. That's when I mean, that's at the height of my collecting. I mean, I used to collect comics as a kid. You know, I used to love all the sort of Fantastic Four and what did I really like? I have to think. I loved all the Spider-Man, Superman. Boost to Gold was like a later edition. I love Gru the Wanderer.
Sergio Garnes, met him once. Great guy. Loved Gru.
Brilliant. I thought he was funny as hell. I loved a lot of that stuff. In the 90s, I was more into you being cool and like in like the Sandman and all the sort of all that stuff. You know. So I was quite big into all of that, and I came into that quite late. So it reignited my passion. I just sort of lost interest because
you're better off now for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's I started getting some graphic novels and things like that, but I was more into going out and getting hammered and sort of.
You're way better off.
Yeah, I look at it now. I'm just when I was 16 and I left school, I went to Marvel Comics with my portfolio of artwork.
Really? Wow.
To see if I could get any work. I got to name my art. It was my thing. There was only 3 people in my year in the whole of the country, I think, that got an A. And I was very confident because I had smoke blown up my house for so long. But they said, we don't hire anyone under the age of 21. Come back then. But obviously by the age of 21, I was off doing my own thing. And I missed out on going to art school because of my dyslexia. So it fucked up my exams. It was. I'm still angry about it to the day. But yeah, I think if I went back to Marvel now with my 16-year-old, 15-year-old artwork, I'd probably still be better than half the people working there. And I'm not blowing my trumpet, but seriously, I look at the artwork and I'm just like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. It's like, I was doing that at 15.
It's
better
not even good.
That.
Stuff they puke out now is not even good enough to hang on a refrigerator door.
How they're not embarrassed is beyond me. I don't know how you can put that out and think, yeah. You know, like, really?
You bigot, it's woke. That's all that matters.
Yeah, obviously. So you lower the standards of everything. I mean, this is it. This is what the whole woke thing is about: patronizing the minority groups. So, hey, we're going to lower the bar for you. Do you know what I mean? It's so patronizing. How people are not offended by this. It's so fucking racist, blatantly. And it's like, look, we're lowering the standards so you can get a foot on the left. Look, we're going to let you do whatever you want. Come on, boy. You did that. And they're the ones dictating it. You know, they're overlords, basically. You know, the fucking plantation owners that they are. So that's how they treat them. They treat them like they're fucking stupid, and it's so insulting. And I can't understand why people get. But I mean, like even like these Black Lives Matter people with their Marxist fist, and it's like you realize that Marx was an incredible racist. You know, like how can you be a Marxist? I mean, Marxist. If you've ever read.
Yeah.
If you've ever read Marx's letter to Engels, right? Read that letter and tell me. I mean, it's littered with N-words, okay? And when I say he was an anti-Semite as well, but he was Jewish and can't be done. It's like he was not a theological Jew. He was not. He may have been raised a Jew. He may have been Jewish, but.
Hitler.
He was the question of the Jews. He was no better or worse than Hitler. He rejected that. He saw people in terms of race as subhuman, and including the Jewish question. You know, come on. He was calling Jewish N-word. You know, all this kind of stuff. It's just rotten, rotten to the core. Yeah, I don't understand it.
It's like idiots with the Che Guevara shirts. They don't know what Che Guevara was. Not only a big time racist, he was a super homophobe. He murdered people for being, whether it was being black, being gay. He hated.
Stalin did the same.
Stalin did the same.
Yeah, that's it. But that's why they want to rewrite history, because it's so inconvenient. So they want to destroy that so they can control the future and they control the narrative. It's just like, you people are nuts. You know, you're always going to repeat the mistakes of the past because you are going to become the very thing you claim to hate. You are the very thing that you claim to hate. You don't fight fascism with fascist tactics. You are fascist. So, I mean, again, this feeds back into Blake 7. This is the dystopia that they're creating for the future.
Absolutely.
And you repeat the mistakes of the past. If you don't learn history, if you're going to rewrite history, you know, I mean, okay, we understand that history is written by the winners, but it's also rewritten by the losers. It's always the way. And then you get the postmodernist reconstructionism, deconstructionism, where they go back and go put it through a postmodern lens, so it all fits in neatly with their critical theory. Mixing the Marxism, you've got the militancy to back up the ideology. Then the Marxists will turn on the postmodernists when the revolution comes, like Stalin did. He will turn all his closest people into his enemies, put them against the wall, off you go. Mass graves. That's always the story of history. And if they want to rewrite that so as if it never happened, go ahead and do it and see what happens in the next 10, 20 years.
So true.
Anyway, I went on my platform. Sorry, soapbox time.
Kidding me? It's a blast being. It's a blast being able to talk about all this stuff. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. And
well, I don't think you can talk about a dystopian future in a science fiction context without actually looking where we are. You know, and
yes,
where they were at the time when they made this. You know, Because it was at a time where there was a lot of upheaval in Britain at the time, because we had the miners' strikes, and there was Thatcher came along, and it was the 3-day week, and oh god, it was just a complete mess. It was the sick man of Europe, I think it was how Britain was described at the time. We were seeking monetary bailouts and all sorts of things, and then we joined the EEC against our own written constitution. But
wow.
So it was quite an interesting time, growing up as a kid watching this on TV, like the miners' strikes and the violence and riots. There was also a race riot in Brixton. So it was
these are times, so scary and insane times here and everywhere. So
it just goes in cycles.
It's fitting talking about Blake 7, because again, it is it is dystopian.
But it teaches you the fortitude to face tyranny and how important you have to fight for liberty. So it does have the element to it.
Well, otherwise I wouldn't like it. I mean,
I think that's why it resonates with a lot of Americans, actually. Even though it's from a sort of more leftist liberal set of writers, not always, not in every case. I mean, if you look at Doctor Who, Terrence Dicks is definitely not a left winger.
Terrence Dicks is not.
No. Terrence Dicks.
I did not know it.
I don't think. Well, I mean, it wasn't as militant as some of the writers. Who was it who wrote the
Green Death? Sunmakers?
The Sunmakers.
Wasn't that Terrence Dicks?
Was that Terrence Dicks?
Or was it was it no? Who was it? Damn, now you got me. I thought it was Terrence Dicks, but I'm not. I could be thinking of someone else. I know it wasn't Adams. Or was it? Or did Douglas Adams write it under a different name? I don't know.
No, I don't think Tim, because it was the very sort of story about capitalism.
Yeah, it was very anti-tax, which I love. Of course, Michael Keating was in that episode. So
Robert Holmes, I think.
Robert Holmes. I love Robert. Robert Holmes. Robert Holmes. My favorite.
Yeah, he was actually he was actually the most sort of left-wing writer they had. So he was, he was always doing sort of more political-leaning stuff. Yeah. But he did show two sides to everything. It wasn't so like today where everything's just so one note. He was nuanced, a fantastic writer. So I mean, even with that, people can see that he's writing in a crafting in a way that it's not just a hate letter to capitalism, but he was pissed off because he got over by the tax people or something at that time. So he basically wrote that as a response.
Well, you can't be a writer if you create a universe where you agree with everything in it. I mean, it's not an interesting story. In other words, you can't write, and that you can't write characters. Some writers are able to write characters that they disagree with so well, you would think, wow, they must agree with that character, and other ones can't.
And that's missing. That's missing today. That's very missing. It's lost. It's a lost art.
Norman Lear was a pretty big flaming lefty. He wrote All in the Family, and he did write it so you could make fun of Archie Bunker. It was based on a British show, as I'm sure you know. It's classic. I don't know if you're familiar with the show All in the Family.
Yeah.
With Carol O'Connor. Archie Bunker was a bigot, but he wrote it with more nuance than that because his son, played by Robert.
Have you ever watched Till Death Us Do Part or
based on
what's it? Till Death Us Do Part and. No, it's Till Death Us Do Part, and so oh god, my brain. What is the other line? Till Death Us Do Part, In Sickness and in Health.
I've seen that.
There were two series with this character who is a bigot, who is a working class Tory, and his daughter is dating this guy he absolutely hates, who's like sort of well-to-do leftist liberal. And he keeps winding it. It's brilliantly. If you've never watched it, it's funny as hell. Never be on TV ever again, probably, because people say, "Oh, so even though he was the actor who was playing the part." Hold on, let me get it up. My brain is failing again. Let's do part B. Yeah, there we go.
Well, I know All in the Family was based on one of those.
Yeah, the actor Warren Mitchell played the character of Alf Garnett. Right, it's this kind of post-war kind of cowardly veteran type. You know, he's got all the medals. Probably did something in the books section or something.
Yeah,
and he lives in the East End, so he's East End guy. He's old, and he's seen the world changing around him. Anthony Booth plays his daughter's husband, who he can't stand. Anthony Booth is actually the father of Tony Blair, I believe. Oh, Sherry Blair, so his father-in-law. Yeah, so it's brilliantly written. It's one of the funniest sitcoms we've ever produced. So if you ever watch it, Till Death Us Do Part and In Sickness and in Health, which is the follow-up 80s one, Till Death Us Do Part is the 70s, but it speaks to the class system brilliantly, and you know, he's a bigot, he's a racist, he can't stomach it. He's absolutely militant about it. He stands up for the national anthem and all this kind of stuff, but he's really intolerant. And the actor, he's no longer with us, Warren Mitchell. He said he's when he was still alive, he was still getting people like, I've got it, yeah, right on. You know, it's like, you fucking moron. You know, I mean, I was taking the piss out of you people. And that's great. It's got Una Stubbs in it as well, who played the daughter. So Una Stubbs, if you don't know, she's been in quite a lot of BBC stuff throughout the years. She was Aunt Sally in Wurzel Gummidge, which was a show that starred John Pertwee. Yeah,
I've heard of it. I never got to see it.
Yeah, it's just another show I grew up watching. The opening of it used to scare me to death because he's hanging on this cross as this scarecrow. So it's like he's being crucified, and then he sort of like just pops himself up there and he starts to fall forwards. It's just like terrifying. Scared the living crap out of me as a kid. I couldn't watch it. I was like, tell me when it's over. And then I think subsequent series had him falling backwards, and it was, you know, that was fine. But it was when he fell forward, you know, the shadow cast over his pointed nose face, and it's just But my grandmother used to love watching because Aunt Sally, and I think she used to read the books as a kid.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you what, those shows. Some great old shows there, you know, Archie Bunker. Maybe Avon is the Archie Bunker of the, you know, of Blake Seven. Not really. So over here it was Archie Bunker. It was called All in the Family. But a lot of American shows were based upon British shows. Maybe even vice versa. Sometimes I don't know. But
well, we had a cop show here, which was like our answer to Starsky and Hutch. I don't know if you know. It's a brilliant show. I'd highly recommend it. Huh?
Dempsey and Makepeace, huh? I remember that was so.
No, that was the sort of 80s sort of version. But no, in the late 70s, early 80s, we had The Professionals.
Oh, I've seen that. Or I've heard of it anyway. I've seen the pictures. I mean,
even the theme tune is brilliant. Nice. It is basically our sort of gritty London version of Starsky and Hutch. Okay. But again, it's like Blake Seven to Star Trek. It's like, you know, the anti-hero kind of cops. You know, they beat up people to get answers and stuff. They've got no problems, no qualms with that whatsoever. And they've got guns, which is, you know, pretty much unlike cops at the time because we didn't really have armed police. I mean, there were special units, sort of CIA type. Well, not CIA. I don't know what they were. But they were like special branch or something. It was a great cop show. Really, really worth watching.
Nice. Well, you know why I watched Dempsey and Makepeace? Because it had the wonderful, magnificent Glynis Barber, Sulin, whose picture here you all see from the fourth season of Blake Seven. You know, I think we should at least touch on the fourth season a little bit. As everyone knows, well, as you might know, it was just a lot of people don't like the fourth season. I love it. I mean, it has its faults as far as stories, but watching the character of Avon evolve and kind of that performance, watching him kind of go, I don't know, was he going nutty? I don't know, but I mean,
he's actually losing it. Yeah, it looks like he's losing. He becomes obsessed with finding Blake.
Right.
And the motives aren't really clear either. I think it's
you never know that.
It's become pathological. We don't really know. And he seems to be galvanized. I think he's seeking some sort of answers to something. I don't know. It's so strange, season 4. It's unlike the rest of the seasons altogether. I mean, his character is now at full pelt, and he's now taken on the mantle as the leader, full on. You know, they got a new ship,
Scorpio.
Scorpio. He's more sort of defined. He's got more of a costume now. It's sort of the black and white thing, the studs and all the rest of it.
Love it. I love that outfit.
We've got new dynamics with Dana and Tarrant, who were there in the sort of start of the third series. And then Stulin comes in kind of as a sort of captor, really, isn't it? Like they end up stealing this ship, and she's ended up realizing the guy she was traveling with was not who she thought he was.
Yes, Florian, But she joins up with him, and she's says, "Look, she's not. This is something about do you give your loyalties that easy?" When she says, "I give nothing. I sell my skill." And she draws the gun on him. And they're like, "Yeah, she'll work.
She's one of us."
And of course, if not, she'll blow your head off. And
well, she was brought in, I think, after Callie
had passed away. Unfortunately, Callie was killed in terminal the previous episode.
Off screen.
Off screen. The only thing you get from Callie in the first episode, Rescue of the 4th season, is her telepathic cries for help to Villa. And then when the bomb goes off that kills her, the last thing she thinks out loud is Blake. She actually thinks the word Blake out loud and screams for Blake for some reason. And
maybe that's what drives them on. It's like, it's too much has been lost now.
Yes. I love Callie.
There needs to be answers. There needs to be some sort of reckoning for all of this. And it's I think.
I was going to say we should stop on Callie for a second though, because Callie is. I love the show. We wouldn't be here, but she is an example of. I don't want to say inconsistent writing, but change writing or evolution. Everyone call it, because in their very first episode, she was pretty much a Klingon.
Yeah,
she was going when they meet her. She's gun-toting. She's a killer badass. She says, "I'm going to go attack that base and kill until I am killed." And she even had it's an expression amongst her people, the R&R, companions for my death. You kill me, I'll kill you. That kind of thing. By the time it got into the third,
but she's still on the same side. She doesn't realize it because she's against the Federation who destroyed her people.
By the time we get into the third season, she's a pacifist. She doesn't. I mean, when Avon wants to kill Shrinker, the piece of garbage who he thinks at the time tortured Anna Grant, his love to death, and wants revenge, she's trying to talk him out of it. She doesn't like it. She thinks it's murder. She's there are many other times on the show where she's more of the peaceful type or whatever.
Well, I think that stems from her coming to terms with the anger and bearing in the Big Finish audios. She does go into why she is the way she is, and because there's a story in the Big Finish audios where she's come across these human scientists who, because she's a different race. I think she's an alien.
She's from a planet called
the colonist who's evolved into a different type of human. I was never.
She's a clone, actually, from a clone race from the R&R.
Yes, that's right. Because with Servalan goes to create a baby for herself, isn't it? She goes.
Yes, and the Children of Auron.
That's
episode where she meets her sisters in that, played by Jan Chaplin.
There you go.
Anyway, wonderful character. I really do love her. I had a buddy of mine who was, by the way, borderline obsessed with her.
Kylie's a bit like the dark-haired one in ABBA. You got the blonde one, you got the dark. So you got you got like Jenna, and then you got Carly. So it's like, you know, you got the brunette, you got the blonde. I think that's how they sort of worked that out on a superficial level. But yeah, she's an interesting character. I think that because what happens in that Big Finish story is that these human scientists are trying to learn their psychic powers, the ability to use telepathy. So they capture Avon by mistake, and then Callie has to go and rescue him. And it's without going into the story in detail, but she explains to them, you don't want this. You don't want to experience what I've been through. When we're all connected on my planet, we all communicate our feelings to one another all the time. When my planet was destroyed, when my people were destroyed, I had billions of people crying out as they were dying in my head.
Yep.
You know, and that was, you know, like, you can't imagine. So I think with that level of empathy, I think it's impossible for her to develop into any other person other than someone who is a peacemaker, who is someone who is a pacifist in those terms, because she has empathy, because of that telepathy, because of that experience. I think that makes her someone who fundamentally understands suffering at the deepest level, and she doesn't want that for anyone.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't want that for
well, it works for
herself
me.
or for her team. Yeah. So I think that's where that sort of comes from. You know, yes, she was bitterly angry at first when we first met, and deeply suspicious, and she couldn't. I think she was so filled with rage she couldn't read into their minds to find out whether they were really friend or foe, because she was so obsessed and possessed by this idea that she had to kill to make up for what happened to her people. So yeah, I think she, you know, her arc was quite an interesting one. You know, she was treated with a great deal of suspicion at first because she was an unknown. But she settled in. And she proved to be more than valuable in her role within the crew of the Liberator. You know, she was an asset. You know, I mean, someone who can use telepathy and stuff. Great, yeah.
And then basically, like, we don't really spoil or anything for anybody here. I guess if you want to go watch the show, or anything like that, and we have not done that here. So we're just kind of touching on elements of the show and talking about characters and just how brilliant and wonderful the show is. And again, these characters, you could spend all day talking about every one of them. I mean, they're all the main characters in particular.
I mean, I think the cast, as it changes throughout, you know, where there's a gap, they managed to plug it. I mean, I think my least favorite is probably Karen, because he's so arrogant and just not very good. You know, he's a bit of a plonker, but he does sort of redeem himself when he has to sort of fight in one story. He has to go off and fight in this contest, you know, over the death of his brother or something, isn't it? It's to fight his sort of evil self. It's really weird. But yeah, so it's a good episode. It's quite a heartbreaking one because he has to kill, I think is it his brother? I can't remember. It's so long ago since I saw it. But like but I mean, it's the dialogue between Avon and Villa which are priceless, because Villa's the comic relief. I mean, even like when Avon's being funny, he's being deadly serious at the same time. But Avon can be like, he's like the kind of sidekick that, you know, he's got his uses, but bloody hell, he's a bit of a coward. But he still steps up when he has to, and he's quite an interesting character. He likes a drink. He likes to complain. He's always the butt of Avon's wit. I mean, literally just crushed by Avon. It's very rare, I think, that that Villa ever got one over on him. And I love that dynamic, and with Aurak as well, the voice of Aurak, the computer in the box. trying to outwit Avon, and Avon trying to outwit the computer, and he just gets so fed up with it. He's like, "Oh, shut up!" You know, it's really going for it. I've unplugged something. Oh, yeah, we go. It's my headphones. So yeah. Oh, are you there? Oh, we lost Ben.
Hey, hey, did I lose you there for a minute? I'm sorry. How long did I lose you there for? I don't know if I lost my internet or what it was. It may have been my stupid.
That's all right. I just kept rambling on anyway, and then I was like, then there was a slight pause, and then you're back, so it wasn't too bad. I don't know. All right, I think we're still good.
Might have been something with my my stupid hookup here or whatever.
I was just waxing on about the relationship between Avon and Villa, and the comics sort of parroting, not parroting, parrying. It's, you know, but they were just between the two of them. It's too funny. I mean, you have to watch those two together in action, and Aurak as well.
Aurak, Villa, Avon.
Aurak's Villa. Yeah, it was like a mind off between Aurak and Avon all the time. And Avon's just like looks down at Aurak for being a stupid computer, you know, just wires and things. And then Aurak's looking down on him because he's a stupid human being who doesn't have the mind of, you know, like he does. And it's so funny trying to outwit each other almost. It's brilliant. It's so good.
Did you know that there was did you ever read, there was an unshot script that I found online somewhere. I forgot. It was for the 4th season. It's been a while since I've read it, so I can't really give you a lot of specifics about the plot, but one of the interesting things about it was relatively early on, and Avon went off to do something and got in trouble, and Villa was with the others, and he didn't trust them, and he went and basically betrayed all of their asses and went to save Avon and kind of almost got them all killed, trying to say, because he figured he was better off with Avon. He had his survival chances, and Aurak agreed with him, were better with Avon around because he, you know, than them.
This is why Villa's very much like Avon in the sense of, you know, he's a thief. He wants money. He wants a good life, and he wants to survive himself first. And this is no more apparent than when we watched the story of Orbit. Just watch that episode alone. It's something.
Well, you know what you always say, Villa. You know you are safe with me.
Spot on.
My God, I love it, man. I tell you what. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess I better wrap it up here because you probably got a bunch of stuff to do, and I gotta go
eat something.
Yeah, me too. But I gotta go with my mom and dad's to do it. You know, I gotta go do family stuff and everything. Because even though this thing only lasts like 4, I could do 40 hours on Blake 7 nonstop. So I would hope you would come back and even talk some Blake and some Who.
Well, maybe we can sort of break down the episodes or something. And
that would be great.
The characters a bit more. Yeah,
and we will be spoilerly when we do that. So,
well, we can always advise people, you know, please. It's on YouTube for free. I don't think it's bound by country. I think you can just watch it online for free. It's on YouTube, every episode. Yes. So if you want to have a watch the first episode at least, and then maybe we can come back and talk about it.
That would be a great idea. And again, I know you spread yourself thin. You got a bunch of different shows you go on to. So I'm honored that you came here. I'm honored that you came here. I appreciate it. And all of you, I'm honored all of you, my friends who showed up here. Thank you so much. We barely scratched the surface of Blake 7 because you can't do it. You can't do it in 4 days, much less 4 hours or whatever. So it's just the way it is.
The thinking is asking. I wanted to ask you guys what the best Blake 7 audio is to jump on board with.
That would be for you.
I mean, I was kind of pretty unaware of the Blake 7 audio until Rabbi from Another Planet, Svila Betkin. Go and subscribe to him. He's great. He invited me to do, because he knew of my love of Blake 7, so he had some Blake 7 audio. So he got me into listening to some of the Blake 7 stuff. I wouldn't say it was the best place to leap onto, because it's weird, because it's kind of in between the first and second episodes of series 3. So It all happens in between there, I think.
Yep. Star
and it's all
Aftermath and Power Play. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all a bit chaotic, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I was trying to work out where it was, and I managed to work it out. But it was, I mean, I guess, I mean, a lot of the Blake 7 episodes on the TV series are pretty much standalone.
Yes.
In their own way. I mean, there is obviously an overarching plot over the timeline, but you know, you can pop into pretty much any episode, and it's you know, pretty simple to jump in. I think it's pretty similar with Blake 7. There is like certain chronicles. I haven't delved into them yet. I've only really done the first 4 stories from one box set. And that was, if I can look it up, bear with. The Spoils of War is what it was.
Okay.
Liberation is one of the stories. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know if it's Liberation. Let me just have a look.
I had the first couple of those, so I wouldn't know much. I don't know much about them. Yeah, I haven't heard them all yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to sort of try and bear in mind that these people have aged a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
And it is all obviously audio, so you have to use your imagination a lot more. Which, you know, for me, it's sometimes I struggle with. Sometimes I'm a very visually oriented person, even though I do make music. But yeah, I'd start off with one of the chronicles. I would say Ask Rabbi.
There you go.
He's got most of them. Yeah, but I mean, I started off with that one, so it was the Spoils of War.
Okay.
Excellent. So if you want to jump on where I jumped on, then go for it. I would say that's as good a place as any, I guess, to start.
Well, excellent. Again, everyone, let's see, tomorrow night, Saturday night, I will be back to Comics Convo Saturday night. It will be talking about the 25th anniversary, one of the greatest comics ever. If you've not read it, when I get through recommending it, you'll either be asleep or you'll want to read it. Astro City, one of the greatest comics ever. Brilliant. If you're a superhero fan, please join us for that. I will be talking with my great friend Carlos. But now I want to thank the amazing Problem Being, my new friend and my new fellow fandom minister, for talking some Blake 7 with me, and I will look forward, sir, to speaking with you again. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Abide. You're very, very pleased to have been here. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Always a pleasure to talk about Blake 7 and to talk to such a connoisseur as yourself.
Well, thank you so much, sir. And I'll be seeing you. I guess you've got some streams here. You want to tell us whatever you're doing tonight or tomorrow on your stream?
I think. I mean, usually I was sort of doing the TARDIS Zone with Noel on Saturdays, but on this Saturday is he's appearing with Gary from Nerderotic on his channel. So
oh hell yeah, I'll be there.
It's going to be an epic discussion on the state of the fandom of Doctor Who. So you're going to have Gary as, I think, Rabbi, Noel, Blue Bonnet Hoovian, I think, is involved. Nice. So it's going to be a pretty packed house. So yeah, expect a lot of scathing fun.
Yes, a lot of fun. Well, I can't wait for that. I want to thank everyone who has been here. Of course, Eastlyn Burkholder, you've been fantastic and being with us the whole time. Thank you. The Thin King, my new friend, thank you for being here. RR, my old buddy, my new old buddy, I guess to say. Latino Slant popped in earlier. My buddy Paulie Jobber was here, my old friend. And anyone else, my Mark C was here, the great Mark C. So thank you all. Thank you, sir, again. You've been fantastic. We will do it again. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hail.
Hail.